Hello everyone. Now, let me just come on. Yeah. We'll change over here. Alright, I think that should do it. Hello everyone. How you doing? Hope you guys are having a good day so far. So yeah, last stream, which was yesterday, we did some good progress with Virtua Tennis. Yeah, did we do? Yeah, I think we only did online tour, right? Yeah, I think so. So hopefully we should be able to finish off with online tour at least. Well, hopefully at least get my wins. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to help out the guy get his wins as well, because I have way more than he does. So yeah. Although I should probably be able to get the rest of his wins tomorrow, which is gonna be off stream. So hopefully on Wednesday we should probably start with friendly matches. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully. And then probably either finish it off on Wednesday or on Thursday. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The game's very unpredictable how the activity is. So yeah, I'm just gonna alert the guy. They can start searching. So yeah, with all that said and done, let's go straight to it, shall we? So let me just change over here. Right, then get rid of you. Where are you? There you are. Much better. So yeah, let me just here we go. Yep. Okay, capture card wants to work today. Yeah, hopefully. Thank God it wants to work today. Because again, sometimes it just wants wants to fuck with me sometimes. For random reasons. Right, where were we before? I think we were in the middle of animats, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we're in the middle of one of Animat's videos.
Virtua Tennis 2009.
Great fucking great fucking point that I stopped the video at. Yes, great. Did the week did this shit reset it because it's like Monday? Yeah, let me check real quick. I doubt it, but let's see. Okay, it did reset. Good, good. So I should have 20 more spots to use them. Yeah, here we go. Right, what do we have here?
Cho to be among the cast. And if you don't know Sungwon Cho, he is actually known on YouTube as ProZD. Great YouTuber and a professional actor as well. I personally really love the guy. I'm a fan of him. And she wanted
I've
him
heard
to be in
from
the
the guy
cast since
mostly from
he
his
knows his way in
random
voice
videos
acting,
on YouTube.
and
Yeah.
also he
My
is
favorite one
Asian,
probably
so
has to be
he would be
the
a great
villain
fit
that
for Kung Fu
accidentally
Panda 4,
becomes a good
but
guy.
Everybody said no. But eventually she did do other suggestions, And they actually took her word for it, and she is the reason why we do have Robbie Chang and Kihui Kwan among the cast. So she, it took some time, but she did manage to make herself known at DreamWorks Animation. So there is a bit of a happy ending there. But still, though, she's not as big as the actual director there, Mike Mitchell, in which she revealed that apparently Mike Mitchell is a powerful force at DreamWorks, considering that he is a very prominent animation veteran who has directed several movies in the past.
I mean, that does make sense. If you have more experience, you're probably gonna have a little bit more lead way
or the
with other
first
people.
Trolls movie, the Lego Movie 2, the second part, and now with Kung Fu Panda 4. Not only is he a director, but he was also an executive producer, and from there, he was able to have 100% of creative control. That not even executives could go and tell him what to do. He even has more creative control on his movie than Chris Sanders does with The Wild Robot. And from there,
that's such an odd choice. Not even the director of the movie has
and by the way, just
power
want
what
to go and
he
quickly
can do in the
mention,
movie.
I know when it comes to Mike Mitchell, maybe he's not the most acclaimed name in animation, but he is very respected because he is known to get the job done. If you want a movie get made, then you bring in Mike Mitchell. And the thing is with Mike is that, going back to what I was talking about, he has done some controversial choices where, for the longest time, he did not want either Zhen or the Chameleon to actually have a backstory. For a while, there are some...
Hi there, Scrub. My PE class, we went to a donut shop today. Ooh, okay. I mean, I don't tend to eat donuts. I've eaten a couple of them, but I'm not really a fan of them.
People at DreamWorks, including Stephanie,
I know that people really
him,
like
they
those
need to have a backstory.
things.
We need to have a backstory
That's
for
not me,
them.
though.
And he kept saying no. It wasn't until right in the middle of production where he actually said okay, but it was a little bit too late, where the addition to their
Right, the addition of the backstory last minute really made it very apparent. Because the Chameleon in Kung Fu Panda 4, if I remember correctly, barely has any fucking motivation. That and also the new character Jen, I think that was her name.
Backstories, it honestly felt like how it did in the movie. It was just a last minute add-on, where with the Chameleon, it was like a throwaway line. And even with Zhen, I feel like the backstory itself is pretty interesting. It's just the way that they handled it. I just
It's
don't
not
think it was great,
executed well,
especially with the
well,
way
because
that
they didn't have enough
used
time to develop
to make her like a plot twist villain. Yeah, it was just not good whatsoever. Honestly, it's just it was quite a turn.
Higher
I
up
would even
interference.
say even Wish
Never-
handled it better
never
when they
leads to
made
anything good.
Simon a bit of a plot twist villain in that similar vein. But from there is also another thing that Stephanie did, and probably her biggest contribution, in order to make her voice heard and to have something be included. It's not just in regards to.
Do you know that food app on the Wii? No.
A backstory, but
No.
also
No, I
in
don't.
regards to a redemption arc. That we need to see
Even if I knew, I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't be able to
redeemed in terms of their friendship and stuff.
I wouldn't be able to
after
download
Paul got
because the
betrayed
fucking
by
store's
her,
down.
That we need a moment where we actually see them rekindle their friendship and stuff like that.
The May
And
channel.
they were able to do so.
Still have no
we
idea what
did
that
have
is.
That one scene,
I think that's
and
more of an
not
American
only do we
thing.
see the redemption, but also
Yeah, I don't remember
that we
seeing that channel at all in my
it
Wii.
was very action-packed as well, like a bit of an emotional moment. But again, that was also something that was just
Yeah, what about
tacked
it,
on
though?
just because.
Why
not
he's just
necessarily
randomly
for,
picking a fucking
not necessarily
Wii
for the
channel
sake of making
out
the
of
story
nowhere.
stronger, even though it was kind of an attempt of that. In the movie, this was one thing that she did criticize about the feature, that the relationship between Poe and Jen could have been way better handled.
You're able to get it, but you're gonna need to do some modding. You can order food from it, but still only pizza. I think I've seen a video about that. A guy ended up ordering a pizza from it, from a Wii, Yeah, I think I remember seeing a video like that. But still. Why would you want to do that? Just fucking use your phone.
Handled. And again, this is also part of Mike Mitchell, who didn't necessarily fully plan
You're just
things
fucking
out
adding extra steps
like,
of
there was
something
no
so simple.
story Bible or character Bible at the beginning. They think
Yeah,
that,
it's cool,
well,
kind of cool, but there's
no
no practicality
let's just
to
jump
it.
into it. But it is an example of how the story itself was not
Like,
necessarily fully well thought of, which is what I'm not saying that the story itself is terrible, but it is not as well thought out compared to the previous Kung Fu Panda film. So it does actually explain a little bit.
A little
But
bit,
then
yeah.
there is one thing that she had revealed, and this is honestly the most insane thing that I have heard about Kung Fu Panda 4.
What, the addition of the parents being last minute as well?
And I am not joking. It is actually the original plan of what that...
Back in the day, there were things like sushi and shit like that. Okay, kind of cool. I think that was just mostly back in the day where you couldn't just I don't know. I think even back in the day you could still just use a phone and order that shit from immediately. Yeah, even back then there was no practicality to using the Wii.
Film was supposed to be. Because back during the very beginning of production, back when they started Kung Fu Panda 4, even before Stephanie Ma Stai was brought on board, the people at DreamWorks were thinking about, okay, what can we do in order to really spice things up for Kung Fu Panda 4? How can we make this more different than how it is? And they have actually, and Stephanie was the one who has revealed it, that originally they wanted to include in Kung Fu Panda 4 humans. And not just humans, by the way, live action humans.
What?
Yes, I actually said live action humans to the point where they wanted to make Kung Fu Panda 4 a live action animation hybrid.
Uh-huh. Well, that's something. Why though? It would just feel so fucking out of place, especially from Kung Fu Panda, which really did. Well, where the previous movies didn't do anything like that. So. Maybe something from SpongeBob that could kind of work, but not Kung Fu Panda. Like, what the fuck? Were the executives high on something? I feel like it was more of a Japan thing. The first video I saw, the language wasn't Japanese. Yeah, it does feel like a Japanese thing. It's just for some reason they poured that into the American Wii as well. I have no idea why.
I swear, just by saying that, I feel like that turkey in Free Birds, you know? It's like, Kung Fu Panda 4 was supposed to be a live-action animation hybrid. That's right! Kung Fu Panda 4 was supposed to be a live-action animation hybrid. And not only that, but also both Zhen and the Chameleon was supposed to be human characters, and they come from a faraway land, not from Juniper City, but Human City. Yeah, that was supposed to be the name, like HU-MAN City. Like, apparently that was a plan right there.
Bro, that's such a bad idea, though. It's out there, I give it that,
I just want to go and add that
why?
On top of that, with the Chameleon, or when she was a human, she was not known as the Chameleon. They wanted to call her the Collector. And I know that sounds weird and doesn't make sense, especially with the fact that technically in the third movie, General Kai is also known as Kai the Collector. So we're just gonna have another villain who's also called the Collector. Kind of makes no sense. But anyways,
I mean, kind of, yeah. The Kung Fu Panda 3 villain was also collecting souls, so that kind of much of a repeat. They didn't want to repeat that, I guess. Yesterday I was watching someone play Adore the Explorer game on the DS. They beat it within like 20 minutes and they were like, what do I do now? I tell them they should play the AC game on the DS. They were like, what the fuck? Okay. kind of random to just have Dora the Explorer on the DS and then expect it to last less than a fucking hour.
Game, set, and match. Player one.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that all the Assassin's Creed games on DS tend to be somewhat expensive, so I doubt the guy will actually get it unless he like emulates it.
For a while, they wanted to go with that plan, but eventually, of course, they scrapped the idea of the live-action animation hybrid. But still, though, even then, they were still thinking about the idea of having humans in Kung Fu Panda 4. And it wasn't until they had their second screening of the animatic where they ultimately...
For a second, I thought you were talking about, like, physically finding someone playing a DS. But no, you just saw someone streaming. Okay, I see. Usually, okay, yeah. Although the DS, I'll probably recommend other games like Mario 64 or New Super Mario Bros. Or Sonic Rush.
Come to their senses, and they said,
Besides,
yeah, you know what?
Yeah,
Maybe this is a dumb idea. How about we
I'll
don't
recommend
do that,
those
and
before
let's
fucking
just go and
Assassin's Creed.
stick to animals, and that's where we got
Maybe
the
Discovery.
collector becoming the
I'll tell you
chameleon,
Chronicles can
and
skip.
Jen became like that little fox. So that was apparently one idea, and I just gotta say, oh man, did they dodge a bullet on that one. Like, yeah, it was, like, honestly, I cannot fathom the idea of suddenly with Kung Fu Panda 4, now we have live-action humans. Like, honestly, it honestly feels like what they have done with Trolls Band Together, where you have, like, these human-like cartoony characters suddenly in, and it's like, okay, I guess people are now part of the Trolls universe, like, with no explanation whatsoever. I don't know, like,
It's such a weird fucking idea. I think it made more sense, like, again, in the SpongeBob movie, but where humans have showed up in them before.
So honestly, like, it could have been much, like, yeah, maybe the writing of Kung Fu Panda 4 was not great, but it honestly could have been much worse.
Yeah, it could have been way worse.
There is...
Sinto-me emocionada por ver como o meu avô toca a vida de tanta gente.
Shut up. Fucking Coca-Cola ad. Get out. I just need to let this play for a bit, because I can't skip it.
Love 15.
Okay, here we go. We're back.
Is one thing in Kung Fu Panda 4 that honestly I have to say is a missed opportunity, and this is the ultimate thing that I would say, holy crap, like, they were seriously, like, we were robbed at such a great concept. And this is actually something that I have mentioned before, and that is regarding the idea of Shifu getting kidnapped. Now, why would that be a thing that feels like we would have been robbed? Like, what's the deal with Shifu getting kidnapped by the chameleon? Well, picture this. Like, imagine if either Shifu or Po would suddenly have that vision, that they would see, like, what the chameleon would be up to, especially with taking away Shifu and stuff like that.
Right.
So the same movie
like
would go
Shifu's
along,
death
and,
scene
like,
or
they would go
something?
and continue, but then suddenly, Tai Lung would go and enter the scene. And then you would see and keep in mind, again, Shifu has been kidnapped by the chameleon, and then suddenly we bring in Tai Lung into this. So throughout that whole moment there, Shifu would be in that same room as Tai Lung. We would have missed a great emotional opportunity.
Ooh, okay,
a
that's actually
reunion
interesting.
of father and son, where Shifu can have a proper goodbye that he could give to Tai Lung.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like that was
And
actually
that is
pretty.
one thing.
That's
and
actually
that
a
is
very
debatably
interesting
the biggest
concept.
criticism that
I don't
Stephanie
get why they
Moss
just
Stein
didn't do
has
it.
with
Maybe they
Kung Fu
just
Panda
didn't.
4
They
is the
didn't
fact
have
that
like
the way
they
they
couldn't
brought in
get the
Tai
Shifu's
Lung,
voice actor
again,
to show up
a
more.
little bit similar to Lord Shen, General Kai, and the Furious Five. It's really nothing more but a glorified cameo, where his inclusion didn't really contribute much to the story. It really, like, in
Yeah,
her
they couldn't pay
words,
him more.
it really is
They couldn't pay
just
for him to
nostalgia
be
bait. So
more in the movie,
honestly,
I guess.
that's the thing that really did suck about it. And honestly, one thing that as a Kung Fu Panda fan myself, I feel like is kind of a betrayal from the fourth movie where like they were trying to hype things up with bringing back Tai Lung, General Kai, and Lord Shan. And the way they used it, it's not that much.
Meh,
It's
it's
just
just
to bring in,
cameos. It's just kind of
just to
there,
bring in
not saying
seats.
anything.
You know, just
And
to bring
Tai Lung
in
is the only
people
one
to
that
buy
actually has
tickets, and
lines.
that's really pretty much it. But with that said, though, does that mean that Stephanie Ma Stein hates Kung Fu Panda 4? No, absolutely not. She is very proud of what the people created in the film, and like there was a lot of hard work that was
Yeah,
put
there's
onto
that,
it,
but I
and
think she
honestly,
would have
it really
preferred
did
if she
show
had like
in Kung Fu
full
Panda
control of
4,
the production.
and you know, and like even though there are some like major problems with it, rather it be the absence of rather it be like the absence of the Furious Five, the way that the backstory was just slapped onto it like it didn't really matter, the way she had to force a redeemable arc for Zhen and Po, and also especially with how Tai Lung was handled, like it could have been better. But
I
she
think that was
is
like the
happy
big thing
with
for
what
me.
her and her
They
team
did,
managed to go and do. So that's
especially
why I
like
wanted
in
to
the
take
end, they
moment
showed
to
up.
actually
They showed
discuss
a lot
about
of Tai
all this, to
Lung.
go and actually have a talk.
Yeah, in the ads they showed a lot of like Tai Lung. It made me feel like he was gonna show up more in the movie, and he just ends up being like a small cameo at the beginning and at the end. It's very fucking
About what
disappointing.
happened during production with Kung Fu Panda 4. Like, it is absolutely insane, but honestly, like, yeah, it's not like the worst production that occurred. It's not like
Definitely
the kind
not.
of
This
toxicity
ain't no
in
food
which
fight.
Lord and Miller would go and abuse their animators in order to create Across the Spider-Verse. But still, though, it's just there are some wild things that have been revealed during the production of Kung Fu Panda 4. All right, I'm going to go and take a break so I can go and try to reset the ad timer here. And when we do return, I would like to know your thoughts as to what Stephanie Ma Stein has revealed about the production of Kung Fu Panda 4. All right, we are back. So now let's see what the chat wall has to say right over here about our little talk with Kung Fu Panda 4. So let's see. Okay, let's see what we have here. Anyways,
Yes.
when I saw Kung Fu Panda 4, I was so disappointed in how the execution turned out with its predictable story and rush pacing, along with some generic characters like Zhen, for example. The Furious Five that I'm disappointed with is the most especially those that want to see Po and Tigress' relationship. When the news broke out, I knew there was a problem going on,
I mean, I
including
could
budget
kind of
cuts
see
of
that,
not
but
paying the actors,
I wouldn't be
including
too bad
poorly
if they
handling
also
the
didn't
villains.
just stay
The
friends.
sequel is unnecessary, but really crazy to hear.
That
Yeah,
thing's
I
only
feel
just
like
if
that's
like the
honestly one
really,
of the big things
the
that
really
maybe
nutty
Kung Fu Panda
friends,
fans
the
might
really
feel
nutty
absolutely
fans that want
betrayed.
that
The
shit.
fact that the plot
They're
is
always
that
into like
Po is
romance,
going to be giving up his
do
title as the
shipping
Dragon
characters
Warrior
and
because
shit.
he has a new promotion. And so from there, he has to go and like find someone new to become the Dragon Warrior. And like you would expect that, oh, you know, maybe Tigress, after the years of helping out Po on his journey and stuff like that, no, let's go and give it to freaking Aquafina. Let's give it to that new spunky little fox that's voiced by Aquafina, who's doing the same thing like what she did with Miss Tarantula and the bad guys. Let's make her the Dragon Warrior. I don't know. I feel like there would be some
Although
Kung
she
Fu
has
Panda
been
fans that
showing
might
up in
be
a lot of
upset with
shit
that.
recently.
Let's see now.
Don't know
I
why.
am very glad this isn't another Across the Spider-Verse
Is
situation
she just gonna be
where the
another
animators
Pedro
were treated
Pascal
like
where
crap,
she's
but
gonna
this is
be in
still quite a
everything?
wild
Then after a while,
production.
she's just
I've
gonna
seen the
be
film twice,
slightly
one by myself,
a few-
another with my
a few
family
stuff
and
here and there.
4DX, and it's a really fun
And
movie,
slowly
though it's real
forgotten
sweet
about,
compared
maybe.
to the first three. When it comes to those decisions, I feel greatly disappointed of how the Furious 5 appeared in the film with no dialogue, though I'm very glad that Jen went from human to furry. Yeah, exactly. Again, you can't
Oh,
just have a
God.
movie
And
where
you say
like,
that's better?
that you've established with 3 films that it's a world filled with anthropomorphic animals, and then suddenly you just have a guy suddenly coming in. makes no freaking sense. Like, honestly, it's like, I would rather see a Fox Aquafina than Aquafina herself suddenly appearing like, oh, hey, pal. You know, it just makes no sense. Okay, anyways.
Yeah, I still have no idea why the fuck I
Lord
thought that was a good
Almighty,
idea.
this movie was not planned out well. Like, I wasn't planning on watching the fourth movie in theaters, but it's amazing that the movie turned out as well as it did. Lord, the creatives are really trying to make the best film they can, and random execs and the main director having the job because he's efficient. I know that the movie has deadlines, but this feels ridiculous. I hope 5 won't be as frustrating. Yeah, but even at that, like, in my opinion, I don't think
I mean, are we gonna get 5?
Like, if this is the direction that the Kung Fu Panda films are going,
I mean, if we're gonna be getting a Toy Story 5, then maybe as well a Kung Fu
we
Panda
might
5.
see another collision course. I'm just saying. Let's see.
I don't
Any
know.
other
We'll see.
comments that we would have here? Okay, while I'm not interested in the Kung Fu Panda series, I understand what you are talking about. Great point about the missed opportunity in the film. Also, I think the film will be a box office hit since it has an $85 million budget. That's the thing about low-budgeted films, live action or animated. They can sometimes be successful movie-wise, just like in Illumination. They use small budgets to make profitable films, just like the American fiction writer said at the Oscars a few days ago. Yeah, that is a very good point, and I mean, like, even with Migration,
Yeah, I mean,
for
that's
example,
not saying
like,
much.
it is one of the
For some
weakest
fucking reason, most
performing
movies
Illumination
nowadays have
movies,
an
but it still made its money back
inflated
because
fucking
it's a low
budget.
film.
So no, of course
So,
they're gonna not
let's see
make
what
it.
else we have.
Of course they're not gonna
Wow,
make
this
as much
sucks.
money back.
I'm
then.
sorry to see her having trouble with creative differences during production. Universal just wants to spend money on other big movies, especially the Fast franchise. Having no Furious 5 and Kung Fu Panda 4 doesn't make sense. By the way, when will we see the last animation look back on the Muppets? I am actually working on that right now, and I am planning either on a release
says that,
of
and he actually,
the
yeah,
end of
he
this
finally
month,
finished
like
it
the end of March,
like a few days
or
ago.
probably the beginning of April. And at this point, I might need a little bit more time, so I'm just saying right now,
can
like,
tell this
originally I
video was
planned for
from
the
a
end of
month ago.
March, but I'm gonna have to delay it a little bit, where it might be the beginning of April where we will see the final part. So just to let you know, but yes, I am working on it right now, and it will be done soon.
Right, the last video they did on the Muppets was
we're gonna have one more
all
comment,
around
and then
the
we'll be
theme rides,
good
I
to go.
think.
Or
Yeah.
at least 2 more comments. Let's see here. I'm still going to watch Kung Fu Panda 4 next Monday, but what I heard about Stephanie and the clashes between her and Mike Mitchell and other Universal executives over creative differences, Stephanie's vision could have been better, but I laughed at the live-action animation hybrid concept. All right. I saw Kung Fu Panda 4 this weekend. Okay, yeah. I saw Kung Fu Panda 4 this weekend with a friend, and we both really enjoyed it. Not the best movie in the series, but it was still awesome. But seeing what happened behind the scenes was definitely problematic, and I feel sorry for Stephanie Stein herself and how the crew called her a nobody. Let's just say for any future movies within the franchise, Mike Mitchell should be kept away from it due to some of his questionable decisions, and get someone like Stein herself or maybe even Joel Crawford to direct it. I mean, that depends if there even is
that
going
depends
to be
on
a
what
Kung Fu
Universal
Panda
wants.
5. And I think
I mean,
with that
if it ain't
said,
broke,
that
don't
should
fix
do
it, I
for
guess.
this episode of Animat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, or at least
that's in the
the
eyes of the
second
executives.
one of this week. And oh boy, there was plenty a lot to cover, including the Oscars. But I'm glad that we managed to pull through all this. So with that said, I would like to say that if you would like for more...
Right, yeah. You know. Alright, what else do we have? Let's go back to some ordinary podcasts. Oh yeah, Niji Sanji shit. Right, a month later, and people are still talking about fucking. They're still talking about Niji Sanji. Yeah, even I'm pretty sure that even some stuff about Niji was happening a few days ago. Like, that company does not stop taking them goddamn L's. I mean, they asked for it, but still.
Ordinary podcast. With me today is my lovely and beautiful co-host. He solved all the geopolitical crises in the world. His name is Mudahar, and we love him.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and
Thanks,
we also
man.
have, for the first time on the podcast, a talented lawyer, legal
mindset, right?
Thank you for having me, Nux. Appreciate it, and appreciate you, educating me behind the scenes on all the VTube nonsense that I did.
Yeah,
know
legal
about before,
mindset,
but
I
now
think, is an
know
actual
a
lawyer
whole lot
that
about
looked into
after
the whole
last week.
Niji Sanji shit. And
Dude, that's gotta be the wildest thing as like a lawyer. It's like sometimes you just hop into a case and it's in an industry where you're like, what the?
Well, it's you gotta be ready, but you gotta be ready to go 0 to 60. And if you're not ready, come on. And I was already a weeb. I already knew a lot about anime, so like a lot of the anime cultural stuff was
Let's
there.
go.
It was just the
Weeb over
absolute
here. Weeb over
sheer
here.
hubris of these companies is actually pretty insane. I mean, in any other industry, this would be like just a huge scandal. But it seems like there's not just even this incident, but like going back and people telling me more things that have happened historically, it's kind of crazy in the VTubing world in terms of, what's happened to talent.
Yeah, it's,
Well,
like the entertainment industry if you take every safeguard and ethics.
Dude, we're starting a new industry, new VTuber agency, hosted by Epstein's Island's private server.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
It's collector.
And that's probably gonna be more
I made a mention in like a video a couple days ago where I
more
talked
well
about
received
the,
than fucking
laws
Niji
regarding minor salaries.
Sanji.
I was talking about like YouTube family channels in California. So I was just sitting there, I'm like, man, we have like actual ethical safeguards for a lot of industries right here. And it wasn't always like that. But it's just, dude, you would think that even in Japan, like a first world nation, you would think over there they wouldn't treat this industry like organized criminal like cartel was running it.
Nope.
Well,
They've been
it's
doing
not
it for
that far
quite a
off
while,
from
though.
How they've run a lot of their other idle stuff, right? So if you look at the system that they use, and I actually had a fairly detailed, it was like a 200-page document. But there's like 30 relevant pages on how they run their general idle system. There are known links with organized crime, like the extra legal Yakuza solutions were already part of that idol system for normal celebrities. So you take a lot of that and you like merge it over into the VTuber side, and this whole expectation that they kind of own you, that they kind of own the talent, the company kind of owns the talent, that you can see that translate over. You can see that kind of, okay, yeah, we're used to like
Is the
we own
video's
you,
frame
and, like
rate
you're
fucking
kind of
up, or
you're
is it
kind of
just
our
the
property now,
guy's
right? And in the
webcam
VTube sense,
isn't
they
that
actually
good?
are, because from a legal sense, they own the avatar, they own the images, they own the IP. So
Yeah, but,
technically, they kind of do own it, except for the personality, which is what makes it profitable.
True,
right?
but again, if you look at just the idol industry, like they.
No, I think it's just the
big
guy's
AKB
webcam.
48,
Yeah, I think
like,
so.
That's one of
Yes.
the really big idol industry thingos. They had one of the girls that was seen with a guy, and like as an apology for penance, they would literally take
They
her outside.
shaved her head
They
and-
shaved her head in public
Yeah.
to humiliate her.
And
Like,
she did it.
for
She
cheap.
did, and,
of
no,
course-
and beyond that,
of course she
and
did.
beyond that,
Dude, that's what the bad guys do in Game of Thrones. Okay,
Yes.
like.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
the
then she
idol
had to
industry in
do,
Japan
with
can
her
be
shaved
very
head, a crying
toxic.
apology video.
It's really the same thing as like VTubers, where they end up discovering that they have a boyfriend or some shit, and then they get fucking hate for it. Like, bruh, the parasocial shit is through the roof with these fuckers. That's why I did another job application today. Okay, nice.
Begging them to forgive her.
So it's not just owning the avatar. Owning the avatar is one thing, okay?
You guys are going like 130 miles an hour. I like hit the roadblock as soon as you mentioned the word penance.
Y'all, everybody, if I could just take your briefest attention for just a moment.
Nope. Motherfucker. You mind? God damn, I can't skip the fucking ads. The in-video ads and the fucking even the ads outside of the fucking video. God damn it. Okay, here we go.
Like what the little on back there. Hold on.
Okay. Well, let's get some history,
All right. Start it off. Take us away. Take it away.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's expected that, like, for example, with defamation in Japan, and once again, hashtag not a Japanese lawyer, but, the English
But
translation, you
knows
can read these
the
things in
Japanese
English.
laws.
one of the acceptable remedies for the judge, or remedies for you to make it better if you've defamed somebody in Japan, is to issue a public apology and make a public statement apologizing sincerely, saying what you said was wrong, and doing, you know, some form of penance,
Humility,
right? Some form of,
humiliation.
yeah, showing your
Just
humility,
pulling up
right?
the
Showing
Twitter
that you
apology.
apologize, your contrition, right? You know, I'm from Florida. There was a small town in Florida that when you would
Player 2 to serve.
This time the donut shop I went to today, I must admit their donuts are better than Dunkin'. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. If it's local stuff, most of the time is gonna taste better than stuff that's made from a factory.
would steal or do another sort of crime, they would make
Because
you
they
stand
actually
by the
bake that
road
shit.
with a sign that says like "I'm a thief," sort of like that, right? You've got to actually go out there and have a public element to your
Yeah, you got to be shamed.
punishment. Yeah, shame. And to be very fair on shame does work. Shame can be very highly effective sometimes.
So does breaking your
Sometimes.
kneecaps, okay? But like,
Yeah, so does burning witches.
not the point.
They're effective at killing them.
True. It's very true.
Yeah.
What's
No,
insane
they-
about it
and-
is like how legal this is. In like one of the biggest countries in the world, one of the biggest economies too,
Well, and-
right?
and
it was wild when it turned out that Andrew Tate was actually the CEO of Niji Sanji.
Probably.
The thing is, it's like, even if it's illegal, the problem is because of this international element, like there aren't
can't really do
international
much
lawsuits
because
for a reason. 'Cause they're
international
really frickin'
laws are
expensive and
different
they're just not worth it.
over
Most
between
of the time,
countries.
The parties are just like, oh well, we got screwed, you got screwed. Okay, we'll walk away because it's just not worth trying to do international depositions. And what are you going to do? You're going to try to extradite somebody? That's going to cost you $500,000, right? Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with their assets? They don't have anything in Canada. They didn't actually have a Canadian subsidiary. There's no assets in Canada. So, like, Doki couldn't even, if she wanted to sue,
Right,
even
yeah,
if
just
she,
talking about the
had
whole
grounds, which I
Doki
think
bird
she may,
shit that happened
it
between
doesn't
her
matter.
and
They don't
Niji
have shit in Canada.
Sanji.
So she would have to go to Japan, or they would have to go to Canada. It just doesn't make it worth it.
Yeah, if she actually lived in Japan, she would be absolutely fucked. She got her ass saved just because she lives in a completely different country from Niji Sanji is. Because if she was in Japan, she would be absolutely fucked, legally at least.
In the mind for
Legally
litigation, which comes out in the favor of Niji Sanji, because that means they can act like, they can act like however they want to act like, and essentially nothing's going to come of it because there's no remedy. So
Yeah. But at least the internet sort of vindicated her on this
Yes.
one. I feel like
Let's
that's
ask you something.
So my perspective of this
What
Niji
is it?
Sanji thing is they bit off much more than they could chew when they actually thought that they could treat Western talent like they've been treating the Japanese talent.
correct.
Because the Japanese talent is used to the idol culture. So to some extent, they're gonna walk that tightrope.
I'd say there's also like a
some
proximity
of the
thing
time.
too, right? Like,
I mean,
again,
I
this
think
has been
Hall
going
Life is
on
a
for
lot
so
better
long
with
in
that shit.
Japan, and to be real, like,
Yeah,
where
there's still
I'm
some
from, like,
Japanese
Toronto, so
companies
I
that
don't
still
really
act
hear
like
or
they're
care too
fucking
much about
idols,
what their celebrity
like the
culture
idol
is doing
culture
industry.
in Japan.
But the moment it
You're not
happens
following
on our
Drake?
side of the water, dude, trust me, I follow Drake way less than I follow like Niji Sanji. Jesus Christ. No, but like, okay, if it happens on our side of the world, right? And like I said like a few minutes ago, we have like laws and like
Game. Player 1.
There's that one Mario Bros character that people rep with for the rest of the life. Who's that for you? Represent that people rep with for the rest of their life? What do you mean rep? Like represent?
Love 30.
Like they're chillets? I don't understand the question.
ethical like sort of like barriers for this kind of stuff. So when you see it so visibly broken, I think that's what really brought this more to the mainstream. Because I wouldn't have known about Doki Bird if it wasn't for
they
Unox. And then
stick
also
with?
like
To serve.
I don't know. I mean, they haven't really thought about that.
All.
I don't know. I have to think on that. I haven't really played that many Mario games recently, so I don't know.
40-15.
Yeah, I don't know.
Game, set, and match. Player 1.
Yoshi, perhaps? I don't know. Yeah, let's go with that.
reading
Charlie.
into this further. Well, I beat Charlie to the punch on this one, actually.
True.
But I looked into
Oh,
this.
excuse me.
Dude, it always drives me insane. Like, if I'm like a minute late from something, because he'll like record something straight up and upload it.
It's
I'm like
gonna be
going through
Luigi.
and like researching and like
Okay.
putting in like pieces and edits, and I'm like, God damn it, you assholes! Give me
Yeah, I
games
still
for
don't
hours."
understand why you
But anyway,
even asked the question in the
shout out
first
there.
place.
It's great that everyone covered it because the amount of awareness that was raised.
Yes.
Again, the only thing she could have gotten out of this was the public perception on her side,
Yes.
which it has.
But she
And
got
that's about all she could
tremendously.
That's about the best possible case scenario. And at least we now learn like this is actively going on, and it shouldn't go on. And if you are somebody that is working with these organizations, then there needs to be a new type of VTuber organization that helps to combat this kind of an exploitative practice.
I saw
because
that
it's
posted
one of the
about on
biggest things.
Instagram the other
when I
day.
saw the amount of revenue the
Okay.
VTuber industry was making, absolutely mind blowing.
And people aren't paying attention to this. The thing that
I mean,
was
again,
bothering
yeah.
me, especially my
I
fellow
haven't played that
lawyers
many
and the
Mario
law-
games
the
recently,
quote-unquote
so I
law
can't really
students,
say.
like, they're all
I just
like,
went with
Andrew,
Yoshi
they're,
because
DMing me or
I
whatever,
know.
saying that, Andrew, what's
Just
going
felt
on?
like
What is
it.
this stuff? Like, what's this VTubing stuff? I'm like, it's just the biggest thing in Japan. Like, go look at Playboard. Like, go turn
You
it
know,
over
I
to.
am really enjoying this conversation because you guys have finally seen Nirvana, okay? You've been awake.
They
I've
finally
been
understand
screaming
my
this for over a year now. I've been screaming this at the top of my lungs. There are so many cases of VTubers that have been abused in one way or another by these companies, and they have no way to fight back because after they're fired from the companies, they're also legally silenced, okay? It's not that
Right,
every
yeah,
VTuber
Ninja
company
Sound
is
did
bad. It's just
did that a lot with other
a lot of them
VTubers
are.
besides Doki.
Here's your NDA, right? Here's your NDA, right?
And
they're
only
gonna,
now,
they're gonna hand them the NDA. They're gonna probably
something
take some
like
sort of
this,
small
came
settlement.
out
They're gonna
and-
go away because there's a
and it
wild
ended up biting
power
them in the
disparity
ass.
between one and the other.
So it's worse than just an NDA because they'll make you sign something before they fire you. Okay? And if you refuse to sign it, they'll say, okay, you don't have to sign this. If you don't, we'll take you to court and we'll also blast you online and we'll basically cancel you publicly. If you do sign it, well, then you literally can't say anything.
You really can't.
Right.
You sign it, you can't say shit about us.
That's kind of the method.
You are
to
literally
the madness. It's
legally
insane. And the fact
shut
that they
up.
keep all the play buttons.
If we sign that shit, they legally shut your mouth.
Listerine, mesmo que não se veja, a placa bacteriana está lá.
Another one?
Listerine é 5 vezes mais.
Already?
Like, what is that? That's just to
That's
stroke
so
your own
petty.
ego.
It's
literally
petty
the
as
most
shit.
evil shit that I've
It's
ever
just,
seen.
let me remind you,
Bro,
I
what the
own
fuck
you.
is-
They're 2 steps away from
It's only been like 11 minutes. There's already been fucking 2 ads playing with this shit. I remember when I was young, every time my uncle brought me to Target, I would play on the Wii there. I had Mario Party 9, where it had Donkey Kong Country Returns. Okay. I think the only time that yeah, 2 times actually. The few times that I actually played a console that was like part of the store. It was like one time when it was like the original Xbox. I think it was playing Peter Jackson's King Kong or something like that. I remember just this one chase segment with a dinosaur. But I think it was Peter Jackson's King Kong. I think. That's all. I don't even remember. The other time was when we went to Media Mart, which is just like a local store, like Target. And we went and bought the PS4, but I ended up like playing around with a Wii U. Ended up playing a bit of was it New Super Mario 3D World, just for a bit. Like the first
Yellowstone
level or
cattle
so.
brand and start just, you know.
I mean, but you're like, you're not wrong about it too. It's like, again, when I go, like, okay, in the entertainment industry in the United States and Canada, it can also be as scummy, right? Like, there are cases where talent is, I wouldn't like it. They're definitely taking advantage of abuse. It's unethical.
Sure.
We have laws here that are designed to help protect, right? And no matter what people say, laws, regulations, these
I haven't
things
played it, but
existing
a little bit
do
that I played.
provide
It didn't
a
seem
base layer
fun.
of protection, and that's something that I want to see implemented, at least in the VTuber side. Like, if you're an entertainment organization and you're working overseas, right, which a lot of organizations do, there needs to be better.
When I used to date someone, I played a little bit with her. When the game got ported up to the Switch, she knew pretty much nothing. I mean, I guess, yeah. It's very rare to actually find someone in the wild, that is. Let's just put it that way, yeah, in the wild. that's into video games as much as you are.
Player 2 to serve.
It's either most of the time that I saw the girls around in my class, they didn't play that many games, and the ones that did play, it was just like Sims 4. Yeah, they only play like The Sims.
International laws and better like
Very
I feel
like
the
casual
only way
games,
you
not
can
stuff
hire
like the-
volunteers if you
you should
incorporate a
let
business
we
here and you
boys did
operate
play no
with
way.
the actual ethical laws that we set for the talent that you've brought here.
So that was one of my suggestions. I had two
Yeah, they're all
potential
fucking
solutions. By the way, I
Nintendogs.
completely agree with you. And I'm the biggest anti-regulation guy. I'm like super like we've over-regulated. I've had to do business with California, you know, in part of my corporate life for years. They have too much. But this is one where there's none and it's a problem, right? There's like zero, right? And like zero is too little. Like we can do a little bit better for them than
I remember one time in New York when Swap Force was out. I remember seeing people play it at Toys R Us. There was demos on it. Ooh, okay. I think the only time that I actually saw, I wouldn't say demos, I'm more like promos. You know, like those stands where you would put the character on it, and it would then just show like a trailer of the character in the game. I've only seen like one or two times. I've only seen those things like once or twice in the actual stores.
zero, right? And so the two solutions are either there's an international
I'm not
arbitration.
one for regulation, but slavery is bad.
Yeah, let's like maybe we don't abuse the slaves, you know? Maybe not. Maybe that's kind of bad.
Yeah, just don't do that. But yeah. Actual
call me crazy,
demo that you can
2024,
actually play, I never ran
But,
into
like,
that.
okay,
It was always
international
just the demo
arbitration,
stuff.
there could
It
be
was
some
always
sort of
just the
international arbitration, and
promos.
my thing is it should be outside of Japan because in the Japanese influence, especially for international VTubers, people that are not located in Japan because they don't have the same remedies that a Japanese person would have. That's one. Number two is exactly what Mudhar said, which is you must incorporate an actual entity there and keep assets there in proportion to that funding that you're getting from those folks in some proportion. So there's some remedy, right? You can bring a case in, for example, with Doki Bird Canada, right? Or bring a case somewhere else against them. You don't have to go to Japan and litigate in Japanese court to claim against Nichi Sanji. That's ridiculous. It's
Not
never
to
gonna
mention,
happen.
It makes no sense.
This is just from a completely legislative perspective. But like even on a like normal perspective, you know they've been hiring their managers as part-time Japanese
Part-time
students that are in high
teenagers
school
that barely
speak
understand English.
Conversational level of English. Those are the people they're hiring to be their English managers. Like that's insane. Like just purely from a negligence perspective, what are they thinking?
And that was the whole job ad that was for literally 1,100 yen, which right now was like $7 and 40.
Just watching someone play Motleyville, I think that was the first time I seen the level. What do you mean seen the level? Just watch it.
30 love.
Oh, you mean like the person with the playing the demo?
40 cents per hour for a
Just-
for a quadlingual employee. English, Japanese,
I think the-
Korean, and Chinese. Are you kidding?
Most of the stuff that I first saw from Swap Force was mostly just from the demo, from the trailers.
1 to serve.
That was just the Iron Jaw Gulch, yeah.
15 love.
Mostly
Kidding me?
from the actual trailers. I never saw like actual
Language alone.
playable demos.
I'm not gonna be paid that.
Oh, dude, you
little,
ain't getting
Jesus
paid
Christ.
$7.40, okay? Listen.
Dude, I had somebody defend like it's like, well, I mean, this is kind of standard rate, and I'm like, who said it was standard rate? The moment you add languages to your goddamn like repertoire, your rate goes up. There's not a lot
Kinda
of
was
people that
dumb,
are
but it's just
designed
called
to
them
do
because
that.
I don't understand things.
Part-time students.
I mean, if it's just like show off one of the levels of the game, then I guess it's just a demo, yeah.
No,
But those guys are idiots.
Yeah, you can kind of say that it's a demo.
Require that you're a student.
It's a demonstration,
That's the messed
a
up
demo.
thing. They're like, oh, you must.
That's
be
what
a
it stands
student. I'm like,
for.
wait a second, what?
Yeah, and you have
Demo
like these
stands
50-year-old
for
students
demonstration.
managing, you know,
If it's
30-year-old
demonstrating
like
something, then it's a
10,
demo.
30-year-old streamers that are streaming to tens of thousands of people. Like it's insane. But Muda, I don't know if you heard about this. So we're talking about Niji Sanji because you know they're the biggest one that's imploding. However,
Yeah.
did you ever hear of Wactor?
Oh my God, Wactor's so bad.
Oh yeah, I
Send me
think I
that?
see.
I think I did send you
They're,
that.
I think they're
These
even
guys-
they're
these guys make
somewhat
Niji
even worse
Sanji
than
look
fucking
like-
Niji Sanji
Like the
somehow.
comical villain compared to like no, these
They-
guys.
Yeah, Wactor. They're so bad that like 80% of their fucking talents quit. Like, no joke. Like, I think it was like up to 20 to 30 talents. Now they only have like 4.
Guys are actually
all right.
really bad.
So they look like Kenneth Copeland to Niji Sanji's Jesus Christ. Okay?
Guys,
was
I'm
a very
gonna be
huge
real.
Toys R Us.
This is turning
Back
into
then,
a
yeah,
true
Toys R Us was always
podcast,
pretty
like,
big.
Holy shit, this is not, like, I want to remind the audience, when we're talking about this, like, we can laugh all we want, but these are like,
No.
and again, thank God they can't litigate. Can they litigate me here? I don't think they can.
I mean, they probably could, but I
Yeah,
don't
They
think
could, but they're not going to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, these guys are
They'll lose.
scumbags, okay? Like, at the end of the day,
They'll
they're
lose.
Good,
scummy
but probably won't
organizations.
because no.
And
It's
the
just
reason why
putting
any awareness
gasoline
needs to be raised
into
up
the
is because
fire.
the way that they're operating is almost reminiscent to how the Yakuza operate. I mean, it is, in some cases, very much how the Yakuza seem to operate. And that's, like, we gotta stand up against this kind of shit, because we're literally looking at, like, people who are getting away with...
Is the guy
emotion-
switching slots
for all
again?
Seriousness aside, like, Doki Bird attempted on her life twice.
Correct.
over
Yeah,
the
she
sheer
tried to
shit
off
she went
herself
through.
twice.
So it's like, you can't let an organization like
and
this
also,
get the
people
play.
say that, well, Doki Bird won at the end. Dude, there is no amount of winning that makes it worth it. Okay?
No.
There's no such thing.
It's the least. The thing is, like, okay, yeah, this is the of the shitty scenarios. This is the
No
least
amount of
bad,
money he's gonna
right?
he's gonna
But-
I guess.
make
I mean,
all the
if you- well,
fucking
let me put it this
shit
way.
that
If you go
happened to
through
you, all the
litigation,
goddamn
litigation's not
PTSD
fun.
you're
So
probably
let's say
gonna
there was
end up
some lawsuit,
having.
let's just pretend
Make
hypothetical
fucking
here.
worth it, like,
That is a
goddamn.
multi-year emotional and financial whirlwind. You do not want to be involved in that, especially if it's cross-border. It's going to be insane. She's going to be deposed. She's going to have all this other stuff put on the stand. Come on, that's not going to be good for her mental health. That's not going to be great
And
for her.
also,
Also,
she
she's
has-
doxxed.
It's not
Also,
mental.
she's
It's
doxxed.
not good for anyone's
But
mental
also,
health.
She has no money. Okay?
Right.
All her time working with Niji Sanji, she hasn't been making any money because they haven't been funding her project, so she has to pay everything out of pocket.
Right, she was always the one
Which is like,
paying
at that
for
point,
all
what
the
do they do?
commissions. It wasn't the actual company paying for it. Also, my brother was playing the demo part of Mario 3D World. Okay, cool. At least you were playing with someone.
From giving you a platform.
I mean, at that point, it's like
And a
YouTube
leash.
MCNs are somehow, like, better. Like, the
Yeah.
actual multi-channel networks are somehow...
See, the thing is with the VTuber agencies, it's much. There is a threshold to being a VTuber. Okay, there's a threshold to being a streamer, right? You need a
Yes.
computer,
mic,
you need a microphone,
you need
you need a camera. Okay, that's how you're a
webcam,
streamer. To be a VTuber, you
and
also
actually be
need
funny.
probably around
Well, I'll
$4,000
probably say I like
VTuber
2 out
model
of
to
3
actually
those things
be
done.
successful.
Competitive.
Okay, yes,
Probably.
You could definitely go for a lower class, cheaper one, which is totally fine, and you could definitely succeed with it, but it'll be much, much harder. As hard as it is to break out on social media, it's even harder as a VTuber for no money. That said, Niji Sanji is going to give you a model that you won't have to pay for, and they are going to put
And
you
that's
in
about
front
it.
of an audience of 100,000 to 1 million people overnight. This is a huge sell. It's a
That's
big
the whole
deal, and
thing.
for a lot of people that are just
But
streaming
that's the
for
only thing that
passion of it,
they're probably
and
only
how
gonna
they can
spend
make it
money
their
on, yeah.
career, that's a dream come true. And then they realize that, there's
Yeah, they're only gonna pay you for the model and maybe some computer stuff if you need them. That's about it. If you want to do any other stuff, you're gonna have to pay it yourself.
selling their
That's the
soul
thing
to
with
Lucifer.
Niji.
But it's not that I don't get the perspective of joining an agency. It's just, it's sucky.
Well, it's
Wactor,
instant.
though,
It's instant. Yeah, like you said, it's instant. Fame,
It's
right? Because
instant clout,
you're just
yeah.
part of Niji Sanji. Like you've made it beyond other indies, at least perceptively. Right? The
instant
public
shit
is like,
instead of,
oh,
like,
they made
actually
the
working
cut
for it.
to actually get hired by an agency. They must be better, and they're debuted with other
aside from
members.
just aside from must be better, dude, they're streaming in front of 10,000 people now. They
Right.
have 100,000 Twitter followers. They are actually making a living. They have a tight knit group of people that they could already collab with. Right?
However,
you get a lot by joining
you're getting
the
butt
agency.
fucked
It's
by the
just
company.
Not worth the 98%
Your
of
soul.
merch revenue and 100% of sponsor revenue and 50% of donations and your soul.
Yeah.
Well, what they do is they
I mean,
sell you
probably
the
I think it
hard-
was even less than
What they do
50%.
is
I
they
think it
sell
was
you
like
like the hard part of being
10?
an influencer, which is building
Something
that
like that,
initial
yeah.
audience, and then
Yeah, they barely
you know,
got
your-
paid.
your
They barely
expectations,
got
yeah, I
fucking
wanna
paid
I
by
guess I have to be
their
treated like shit
donations
'cause
or
they
whatever.
did what is one of the
think it was
hardest
like
things
10%.
to do up front, right? Like, is build that initial audience.
Definitely a moment I will never forget. Even my mom and me, my brother, pick a calendar.
Yeah, I mean I don't know about you guys, but I mean it took me to just get started and get rolling. Like it took me over a year of just spinning my wheels, throwing
Yeah, it
my
took
own
me-
money.
Yeah, back when Swap Wars came out, I think my parents were already getting a little sick of me getting scavenged because it's such a fucking monetary thing it was back in the day. It still is though, if you're with certain characters. Yeah, I think they start to get a little sick of that shit. So yeah, makes sense that I didn't end up getting Trap Team.
Into it, just like really not getting much traction.
And also around that time, it was I really was only playing Skylanders
figuring out how to do it.
like
I mean,
for 3-4 years.
It's not easy, and you have to not quit multiple times when you feel like quitting, right? So like, but so to be told you're gonna instantly get that.
Hi there, Fiend. Hope you do good. I picked up Light Core Tornado. My brother picked the regular Smolder Dash. Okay. I mean regular Smolder Dash. I thought regular Smolder Dash came out later. Yeah, I think. Yeah, Light Core Smolder Dash came out in Wave 1, right? I think Tornado came out later as well. Maybe you got the game later. Maybe you got the game later.
It's not nothing.
No. It's definitely something.
Yeah.
But
I mean that is by far like when people ask like what is the hardest part of like this whole thing, and it's like it is literally getting past that initial hump, just because that is like that is the wall, right? Like if you don't build the audience, it's like so many people get demoralized. It's like that gambling meme when you're like picking for diamonds.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
shit.
that
It's
on
like,
my brother got
so
for
many
his
people
B-Day.
give up when they can succeed. Like there's a bit of
Yeah, that's the thing. If the only reason you want to be like creating content and shit on YouTube or on Twitch, the only reason you're doing that is just for the money, you ain't gonna fucking last long. You are not gonna fucking last long if your only motivation is money. Because when you're starting out, you barely make any. It's very hard to fucking grow.
There's luck involved in this, okay? I don't want to pretend that they're not lucky in anything.
Certainly.
What they're selling is the ability for you to bypass luck, which is like, man, that's
Good thing I don't give a shit, though.
Gold in this industry. So
It's worth a
go
lot.
ahead.
I just play whatever the
That's why
fuck I
feel
want
like these
and
are
chill
people
out.
that they didn't grow up on the internet. They didn't start on one
birthday's in
follower and
November.
then got 10 and then got 100 and then got
November though. I'm pretty sure the game came out at either September or October or something like that. So the game was probably already like a few months old then. Let's see.
Love 30.
Come on, why am I fucking phone so slow every time I'm fucking streaming? Swap Force release. Yeah, I think it was in September. No, wait, October. Yeah, October 13th. So you got the game a month later maybe, if we got it on his birthday.
15 love.
got 1,000.
Back here.
They instantly got 100,000, and they fall for bait all the time on Twitter. I don't know if you've been seeing over the last week. The talents, some of them have been falling for obvious bait. Like one of them was told on one of their responses. Okay, I was gonna say the other guy, the UQ Wilson. So another one of them, he says something along the lines of, "Oh, hey, I see that you're doing well. What about all the people that are harassed within your company?" And he actually responds to an anonymous Twitter guy
dumbass.
saying, "Oh, did you make that opinion because drama YouTubers told you that?"
Uh-huh.
No.
No, because your company fucking said
like
it.
This weird criticism of everything that is illegal somehow being drama these days.
Yeah, exactly. That's drama.
This has been really
It's
frustrating
always
for me. It's like,
the
well,
Twitter.
what's
It's
your,
always
what's your definition
drama.
of news, right? Like you're just not going to get information anymore. Like when does it become drama, right? It's like when they're breaking the law that like transcends
Andrew,
drama.
What's your thoughts on the Russia-Ukraine drama that's been going on lately?
Oh, dude, insane. I hope they get that sorted out at some point.
I hope they squash the
They
beef.
still haven't worked on
Yeah,
the Russian-Ukraine drama.
But it's like, dude, and again,
serious, but that's not even a joke.
Damn.
Like, it just becomes everything is drama because you don't define words anymore. Words have no meaning anymore. It's
Yeah.
like calling somebody a Yahtzee.
At some point, words
right? You know, it's like it means
words
nothing.
really
right? You
mean
know, It
nothing.
literally means nothing because it's just applied to everybody. So you've actually taken a word that meant something and now it means nothing.
I can hear
Especially
the
on
pain in
Twitter.
this point, Andrew, for you because as a lawyer, your whole job is to
Yeah,
definition.
Twitter pretty much
words and meanings.
made the word wolf lose all fucking
It's
meaning.
like, this means
Because
something.
to them, it really can mean anything.
But it's insane because, like, you know, about 2 months ago, I covered a situation with like charity fraud and shit. Like, I looked through IRS stuff, and they were like, "Is this like drama?" And I'm like, "Dude, last time I checked, financial scamming is not drama. This is like, well, you know what? I guess we have 2 entire divisions in the U.S. government
My
that
favorite
works in
response.
drama."
My favorite response to that when you call out charity fraud, and they're like, "Are you snitching for clout right now?"
I'm like, dude, I like sit there. I'm like, dude, you know what? I'm gonna call up the FBI office and be like, so what's the new drama these days with you guys? Like, what drama are you guys stopping? Like,
So
dude,
Epstein, the Epstein drama was crazy. The conclusion was kind of wild.
dude, that, and again, even looking into it, it's
So
like
the
it's
World
just
War
like the
II
drama.
drama,
I'm like, dude,
the
I'm
World
literally
War
looking
II
through
drama
this
was pretty
documentation,
wild.
like the files I got
You
from
don't
police,
even
'cause
read the shit
one of
that
my things is
it
like, I
will
always
end
like
up
to call
doing.
the
The
misinformation when it's there. So when
goes
this
on
was
Twitter, it
coming
wouldn't
out,
even
everyone
last
was
2
bringing up,
seconds.
like, random
Or maybe,
names. So
or
I'm
maybe
I'm
it
just
would,
gonna
you'll
do
be
what,
celebrated. I don't
everyone
know.
doesn't seem to be doing in this. I'm gonna download all the PDF files for myself. No
I'm
pun
gonna read
intended.
all of it.
I'm gonna control F my way through all of it because I'm like, that's what you can do, right? Like that's the
Right.
thing that most people.
Yeah, at least one of each element. No, one for each swap force.
Player 1 to serve.
I like the fact that I'm talking about that we are both like talking about 2 completely fucking things. Like you're talking about Skylanders, and I'm talking about the fucking video. Like
should
there's
do.
no
It takes
correlation
you,
at all.
You know, if you're gonna talk about a topic, at least spend what the 20 minutes it takes to download the files and like control F the names that are popping up everywhere. Like what the.
Well, I get this. I get this in my sphere with people that'll talk about lawsuits because that's a big thing in the legal sphere is to talk about lawsuits. And there's people out there, even lawyers, that won't read the complaint. Like, and it's public, right? And like everybody can read this. Like it's in English. Like anybody, a non-lawyer can read it, and they won't even do that job. I'm like, you are an embarrassment. Like at that point, yes, it's drama because you haven't done the research, right? You haven't done any research at
Right.
all. You're just talking out of your ass, right? At that point,
Speaking
yes.
of
I'm
lawyers,
Basic
Speaking
Twitter
of lawyers, I wanna bring up
behavior.
one lawyer that
Just
blew
talking
my
out of
mind
your
away
ass.
with how inept they were, right? And
Oh,
so
God.
far, we've gotten an apology
Jesus.
from them. It was around the same like.
Is this the Gerard guy?
It was the same Gerard
Oh.
like situation. So this guy like shits on us for apparently not listening to this one side committing, you know, charity fraud in our definition, in the definition of legal work. And when we were asking him, like, did you watch the hour-and-a-half call we had where the guy admitted to everything we were accusing him of? And they were like, no, we didn't. I'm like, so how is it that you as a lawyer refused to look at one of the most pivotal pieces of evidence? I'm like, last I checked, that's
You
your
have to
job,
look
is
into
to
the
look through
evidence.
if I had you as a lawyer, I would want to die. Like if I found out in the courtroom.
I don't know, but
did you
it kind of
watch,
like
50%
sounds
of the
kind of
evidence
sound like a
that's been
shit
out? No,
lawyer.
you didn't read through it? Well,
Oh, is that
yeah, I guess
important?
I'm screwed.
Yeah. Oh, should I have done that? You know, it's like, you have one job. You had one job. But, you know, lawyers are like any other profession. There's good ones and bad ones, right? And there's very competent lawyers out there, but there's also
Yeah,
people
there's
that I'm
shit ones.
frightened that they have a bar license. I'll say that too, right? There's both.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing about like any
I'm sure
profession
YouTube
too.
lawyers also. Like
Yeah.
I imagine that's a whole
YouTube,
other breed.
It's a whole-
YouTube
like-
lawyer versus Twitter
YouTube
lawyer.
Sometimes a
Who's gonna
degree
win?
Gives you the ability to say lawyer
YouTube lawyer,
reacts
of course.
to Better Call Saul and get 1 million views. You know, like that,
It is what it is. It is what it is, you know, and like
It
people
is
should
what it
consider
is.
what persons do and what people have a background in, right? You know, like my background is in like more corporate. I've done a lot of property, a lot of bonds, a lot of finance stuff. So like, I tend to try to stay looking at corporations, looking at, you know, what corporations are doing, whether it's right or wrong, because that's my wheelhouse. And, you know, when I see that, I tend to cover it, right? I've covered Disney, now I'm covering Niji Sanji, right? Typically it's focused on that.
Disney.
I can do courtroom stuff. I took those
This guy has some
classes,
balls
but
to
it's
go
not
up
my
against the
specialty. I
fucking
was
Disney
never a
lawyers.
litigator. In fact, I screwed up if my client goes to court, right? I have actually screwed up, right? But
Right.
that's just understanding what you're good at and what you're bad at, right? And I think a lot of people on YouTube, especially, they try to flex that they are skilled in things which they are not, right? They're an expert in things they're not. And I think it's really dishonest. And honestly, I don't have much taste for that.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
yeah,
like,
that was
Yeah,
just
use the highlighter effect in your
what's
video.
the phrase? jack of all trades, but a master of
'Cause, you
none.
know,
I do not.
Good, that's good, because Legal Eagle has stole that from Illuminati a while back. The highlighter effect.
Yeah.
It's really annoying. It's really annoying. He can go off and make his like 98th Trump video and you know get 1 million views. It's fine.
Oh my god, the shade, the
It's,
shade.
when I started out my career on YouTube, I was like, I'm gonna be like better than Legal and 100% less completely ridiculously biased, you know. So so no, that's one of my inspirations to get on. I'm like, this is the guy. Like this is the guy. Yeah, I think I'll be all right.
Bruh. Another
I did
one?
an amazing sponge bath.
Come again?
Okay, this one actually had a bit time between the other one, but still, what the fuck?
I mean, you know, like any industry, there's going to be shade thrown around 100%.
Hey, look, you know the people in the industry, right? So like when you're in an industry, like when you do it, you know who's who, right? And so you know how they do their stuff, how you do your stuff. You watch it as a lawyer, and I hear things that make me cringe. It's kind of like watching any sort of legal drama or show. I'll hear people be like, objection. I'm like, that's not how it works, right? Or like, there's a
Objection.
surprise witness. I'm like, yeah, that's illegal, right? Can't have some random surprise witness walk in that's not on the witness list. Like, that's not how trials work, bro. Like, let's just be very
That's how
clear.
trials work in
even when
TV.
that was happening, I remember that the episode, the chicanery episode for Better Call Saul, when I saw it, I'm like, dude, I am the furthest thing away from a lawyer, and even I can tell you right now, I'd be writing to the AMC right now angrily. I'd be like, you scumbags.
No, dude, he actually put Huel on the witness list. Okay, he was on the witness list. In
Yeah, and then
chicanery.
he got the witness to commit a crime.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he
Technically
did.
not a crime. It's reverse pickpocketing. Okay, he put something in his pocket, which
that's
is
true.
not a
Uh-huh.
crime.
Okay, all right.
It's
all right,
generous.
all right.
I say it is.
What did
Damn,
Netflix
more like
hire
that.
you to correct this on?
Make I really can, man.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, I
You
love
just
that
commission
episode,
that
okay?
shit.
It's like my favorite
No,
episode in television.
it's a good episode. But Andrew, you raise a great point too. Like as somebody in the profession, you're a bard. Like you know,
Right.
you're a lawyer.
Yeah, Florida attorney.
I'm glad that you say that you have specializations and you don't like to speak out of pocket. It's the same thing with like even in our business too, right? Like when I talk about like computer science and everything, like I straight up tell them like cybersecurity, like the speciality. That's why I don't talk about like another completely different field in the world of computer science because it's not something that I'm educated.
Right, because you actually have to know what the fuck you're doing.
Understanding more than the average
Otherwise,
person.
you're gonna make
obviously,
yourself look
but
like
I'm
a
not
fucking idiot.
trained or I'm not like properly acquitted to discuss certain things. So I'm glad that you also agree and you also say like because there's so many people on the internet. There's so many doctors that I see who just pretend to be like medical experts on everything. And it's funny because I talked to my dad. My dad's a cardiologist, so like people think it's like, oh, that's like the top tier doctor. My dad's like, yeah, dude, I know about hearts and shit. Okay, like you ask me about the brain, I'm literally
ain't gonna
brain
know
dead
shit.
if you ask me. Like, I can't answer it.
That's like when you see like I don't want to get into conspiracy territory, but when you see like you know doctors on like YouTube doctors talking about how the vaccine works.
Oh, the Rona, yes. Yeah, no, but that's
Yeah.
actually, that was actually the worst because during that, and I actually got a strike over this, like the doctors that knew what they were talking about and said, yeah, that's bullshit, right? Those got in trouble, right? Those doctors got in trouble, but it was the doctors that were like, I'm a dermatologist and you need to get your 17 boosters. Those people were allowed to talk and they're like, oh, look, trust the science. Let's trust these guys. It's like, wait a second. Like that's,
They are part of the Matrix.
you know.
Break free.
I remember when that happened. It's
Take
like
the
I remember when that happened. I asked my dad. My dad's like, I know how a vaccine works, but here's another doctor that can answer. Here's actually 3 doctors I know who are more smarter than me on this topic. It's like what? Like, because like literally his answer is like, I know how hearts work. Okay, like I know how that.
I know
my
how-
dad's like,
how
I hate
hearts
my
work.
job because every time
They're
I tell
supposed
my
to beat,
patients,
right?
I'm like, lose some weight so you don't come in and I don't have to risk every day of my career working
My
on you.
favorite COVID video on YouTube by far is Matt Pet made a video of which video game characters can survive coronavirus. That is my favorite video, and he has a PhD, so technically he's also a doctor. So,
Okay.
so that's
I'm
my
technically
favorite
a
video.
doctor too. It's doctor of law. It's a Juris Doctorate.
Wait, is
So
that an
technically
actual
I'm a
video?
doctor too, baby.
Drop, look it up.
Yeah.
Dude,
Look it
those
up.
are my favorite kind of videos. 'cause,
Which
like,
character
Matt
can
Pat is
survive
the most well-meaning
coronavirus?
guy, and
Is that an
then
actual
you see a
thing? Is that an
title
actual
like,
video?
How the
How do you think It's like this is not a trend to hop on. Like, what are you doing?
Because I kind of sit there, I'm like, dude, you have a whole ass team that could have told you this might not have been the hottest idea to post. Like, holy shit. No, but you know, speaking of like YouTubers, one of the discussions that we had, and I really want to ask you this too, because as a lawyer, you've worked how many hours like a week on cases, on documentation?
Oh God, on projects sometimes, especially
It's
when they're really
real.
pumping, because I did a lot of project development and a lot of big commercial real estate. I represented Universal Studios when I was in Orlando. Like a lot of this Epic Universe stuff that's coming out right now, I was like literally doing a lot of the entitlement work, the land development work, the purchasing for that.
on.
So like it's really interesting. I can kind of talk about it now that it's no longer confidential. But I would put in some weeks.
Hold on. Hold the fucking phone. Hold the phone. Need to watch this ASAP. We need to watch this ASAP. Hold on. Hold the phone.
Game, player 2. Player 1 to serve.
Characters
Love 15.
survive. Oh. Runa.
Love 30.
What the fuck? It's just delete everything. What the shit? Ah. 10 characters. Survive. Runa. There we go.
Love 40.
Okay, there we go. It's real. Who will survive censored virus? Bruh.
And match. Player 2.
Bruh.
Today we're talking about
Naps Phantom Cup is raiding with a party of 3.
Oh, hi there, Naps. Hope you're doing good. See, I was just counting down there, but yeah. I just looked up something that Nux was talking about here from a video that we were watching. Matt Pat just made a fucking video about which characters would survive coronavirus. And we're gonna fucking watch that shit because that goddamn that sounds funny as shit. You're playing Red Dead 2? Okay. You're all naps. Huh? My stream maps just crashed and I lost everything I did. Time to grind. Oof. Sorry about that, but yeah. Let's make it all up to you, shall we? We're gonna watch a video where MathPads are gonna figure out which character survives coronavirus.
Today we're talking about Wait, what just happened? I said today we're You gotta be kidding me. Am I not even allowed to call it by its name? Even though the news is talking about it constantly?
Yeah.
Fine, we'll just have to use our imagination. Today's episode is inspired by the most viral topic that's sweeping the globe in 2020. You could say that this topic is, in fact...
What is this? Oh, it's right. It's going at 60, right? One game just means I have to play it a bit more. Okay, I see. But you just lose all the footage or some shit? Or did you just not recording?
Infectious. You won't believe your ears when you hear the conclusion of this episode. Today we're talking about which video game character is least likely to survive a viral outbreak. A purely hypothetical, totally not inspired by real-life events global pandemic. A topic that just randomly popped into my head
still
at the
can't
top of
fucking believe you
2020
actually
and I
did
wanted
this.
to cover. Completely unrelated to anything else happening in the real world. How
I
was
still
that?
can't
Pretty
believe
good?
it actually made a fucking video about this.
Oy vey, YouTubing in 2020 is hard. Roll intro!
I think I know who. I think Stealth Elf would be able to. I mean, I doubt he's gonna mention that character. I think he's just gonna mention like the more well-known ones. Yeah, my entire PC died when stream apps died and it went back to the previous shape. When like, oh, oof. So the game didn't like autosave. Either that or the autosave that you had corrupted, and you had to go back to a previous save. Okay, I see. Oof. I feel you. I fucking pray that I don't end up my save file for this game doesn't fucking corrupt so that, because if that happens, I'm gonna have to fucking do all this damn farming all over again.
Welcome to Game Theory, where just a quick
Yeah,
promo
let's
here
see,
at the top,
which
we have
character would
ourselves
survive
a cool new
coronavirus?
pullover hoodie with a really awesome Japanese-inspired design. The text
Bruh.
on the sleeve reads Game Theory, and the chest is, but hey, that's just a theory, a game theory. Or at least I think that's what it says. We had two translators double-check it independently of each other, so either it's right, or this is the most well-coordinated prank ever, and it actually reads Udon noodles are delicious. Either way, I really love the design. I hope you do too. It's only available for the next 10 days, so if you're interested, check it out in the merch shelf down below. Anyway, spring is upon us, love is in the air, and so is a certain
theory.
airborne virus that shall not be named. And maybe I'm just getting a little stir-crazy this winter. Maybe I'm just sick of how serious things in the world have been lately. Maybe I just wanted to go back to the over-the-top ridiculous theories that this channel was built on, but whatever the reason, today's episode is dumb. Capital I-Z-D-U-M, dumb. Just super stupid topic, ridiculous, extraneous, dumb, silly willy, but you know what? It's fun, so there's that. The question I'm looking at today, if you're willing to indulge me for the next 15 minutes or so, is which video game character would be most likely to die from a global pandemic? If a hypothetical illness vaguely approximating the behavior of virus that shall not be named were to start spreading through the connected universe of all video games, since, as we all know at this point, all video games are connected, who would be the first to kick the bucket? Who is our patient zero? I'm also going to answer who has the best chance of living, but, you know, that's significantly less fun. So, that's it. No more cringy introduction required. If you're looking for tips on how to survive the hottest viral virus, or you're just looking to pass the time while you're stuck in quarantine, well then, this episode is for you. And nothing is stopping me from doing it, except for maybe some virulent airborne particles. First things first, in order to know who's going to get infected, we need to know how a hypothetical global pandemic like this would work. Viruses are small particles of genetic material that are surrounded by a protein coat. Some viruses also have a fatty envelope covering.
Yeah, the guy's fucking
I love that coat on you.
Why? Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you. It's protein.
But I thought you were my friend.
Viruses are incapable of reproducing on their own, and as such, they violently infect host cells for their own survival. If we were to model our fictional virus after recent ones that have appeared in the news, it would be spread via small respiratory droplets, the type that escape when you're coughing or sneezing. No big shock there, it's pretty commonplace for most viral infections. Nothing spreads sickness quite like a big old globule of sneeze directed at your face. I mean, I'm not even sick, and just seeing the animation that we just made to demonstrate that last sentence made me feel a bit ill. But when it comes to outbreaks, the biggest variable is
just giving
airborne
like
transmission. You see, what's made big viral outbreaks
basic explanation of how viruses
was in large
work.
part because of how far they're able to spread through the air. Measles, for instance, could spread at distances as great as 30 meters. That's nearly 100 feet. For more recent viral outbreaks appearing in the headlines, the range is much more limited. UC San Francisco infectious disease expert Charles Chu makes it clear that viruses like the virus that shall not be named require direct contact. Quote from him: if you have an infected person in the front of the plane, for instance, and you're in the back of the plane, your risk is close to zero, simply because the area of exposure is thought to be roughly 6 feet from the infected person. End quote. Now, this is great news if you're the guy in the back row of the plane. Sure, you might not be able to lean your seat back, in which case you're going to go viral for other reasons because you resort to punching the seat of the woman in front of you when she reclines, but on the plus side, you're less likely to contract the hottest infection since bird flu. So let's assume that that's how our hypothetical video game virus spreads, either direct contact or within a 6-foot radius. Now, let's talk about counteracting that spread.
Bro,
One,
what the
you
fuck's
just
going on? Why does he
avoid
keep
people
doing
altogether,
faults?
can't get infected by other people if you're never around other people. And that, my friends, is why gamers will end up being the master race. Ah, the perks of being forever alone. But eventually you're gonna have to venture out into the world, which leads us to option number 2, face masks. Now, when I say face mask, you might think of a surgical mask like this, or the ones that you see everyone wearing around Japan. Fashionable and hygienic, except they're not. You see, it turns out that surgical masks are completely ineffective against viruses because viruses are too small, and so they can easily pass through the mask. To quote from the Center for Disease Control, or CDC, a surgical mask,
I mean,
quote,
they do
does
help
not
them,
provide
but
the wearer
yeah, I
with a
don't think
reliable
they can
level of
actually.
protection from inhaling smaller airborne particles, and is not considered respiratory protection. Leakage occurs around the edge of the mask when the user inhales, end quote. See, what the CDC wants you to wear are masks like the N95 respirator.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite face mask from the Citadel.
These sorts of masks are more akin to what you might see a house painter wear. That's because the N95 respirator can be molded to fit tightly against the contours of your face, forming a tight seal so the virus can't creep around the edges and into your nose or mouth. The CDC explains that the N95 respirator, quote, filters out at least 95% of airborne particles. When properly fitted and donned, minimal leakage occurs around the edges of the respirator when the user inhales. Which brings us to the topic of facial hair.
What the hell's
You heard
going
that
on?
right, my friends. Those little flavor savers under your nose are one of the key deciding factors for who will and who won't be surviving our little global health
This
emergency.
fucking match is
Because
getting
here's
going
the
on
thing,
for way
if you
too
have
long because the
any
guy
facial
keeps
hair
going
dancing
AFK.
across the seal line for the mask, it renders the respirator ineffective. It's the exact same reason why I, now that I have this incredible, luxurious beard, can no longer vacuum seal cups to my face just by sucking out all the air, which you might not think is all that big of a deal, but to be honest, I do a lot of my best thinking with a cup suctioned to my face. Hashtag first beard problems. In fact, when it comes to virus prevention, this is such a serious consideration in virus control that the CDC started going viral themselves on Twitter when they started sending this infographic around detailing which facial hairstyles are most likely to get you infected. Seriously, look at this chart. It's so ridiculous. What's with some of the names that they're using? I mean,
Balbo?
the toothbrush mustache?
Oh,
Yeah,
the Hitler
everybody
mustache.
I know calls it the toothbrush mustache. There's absolutely no historical figure that comes to mind when a person sees this kind of mustache. Absolutely no person alive or dead associated with this mustache that would keep me from rocking this sort of thing in public right now. Anyway, my wife Stephanie sent this to me the other day, partly because she cares about my well-being,
afraid of
but
the Hitler
mostly
mustache.
because she wants me to lose the Matt
Or the
Daddy
Chaplin
beard.
mustache,
And
whatever.
can I just add a quick side
Whatever
note
way
here
you
for a
wanna look
second?
at it.
Ever since I grew the beard, everywhere I go, people won't stop calling me Matt Daddy. Guys, please stop. Do not call me Matt Daddy. And whatever you do not make hashtag Matt Daddy trend, okay? I repeat, I totally do not want Matt Daddy to become a thing. It would be awful if that nickname were to stick for me, okay?
Matt
So
Daddy.
again, just a public service announcement. Matt
Yeah,
Daddy,
come on,
not
but
a
we'll
thing.
go
Thank
into
you
the
very
actual
much.
interesting
Long story
parts.
short, certain styles of facial hair are keeping you healthier than others. So basically, this character from the game Ninja Town, which is literally just a mustache with a mustache, yeah, he's totally forked. Okay, so facial hair breaks the mask's airtight sealing, greatly increases risk of infection. Simple enough. Now comes the question of what
finally.
hairstyles are putting people into the danger zone. Let's go back to the infographic. No offense to the CDC, thank you for everything that you do, but you basically opted to use the default male me for every single hairstyle. Variety is the spice of life, people. What good is living
Jesus,
through a global
they're all
health crisis
fucking
if you don't have
me
anything to live
characters. I just
for?
noticed
But
that.
looking at the chart, it becomes immediately clear that if this were a real disease, which it clearly is not, it would practically wipe out every major YouTube gamer. I mean, at this point,
Yeah,
having some
great,
scruff on your
Gerard
face is
again
almost
there.
as requisite as
Yeah, I
having
can
a
definitely
giant
tell
wall of sound
this was
paneling
from 4
behind
years
you,
ago.
or at the very least, a display of every video game you have ever purchased ever. This proves that I am a serious gamer, lol. But again, I digress. Focus, Matt. We're talking about what fictional video game characters live and die. So let's settle it right here, right now. Which video game
Finally.
character makes it through this epidemic, and which ones go the way
Took a
of
bit
the
to finally
Wii
get
U?
here.
Right off the bat, we know that clean-shaven characters are going to get themselves good results. Link is sitting pretty, Zelda is sitting pretty, Agent 47 from Hitman looking clean as always, and same goes for Duke Nukem. Now, at a glance, you might think that Kirby's safe, but there are two problems. First, his eyes and mouth are so close together that the respirator sealing surface passes across his eyeballs. Assuming Kirby's going to want to blink on occasion, that's going to break the seal. Secondly, Kirby's mouth can of course stretch way outside the boundaries of the mask. Hate to say it, but Kirby could be in mortal danger. Now then, what about the video game characters who aren't clean-shaven? Basically, if your mustache
Are you
doesn't stray
truly
too
gonna
far away
say
from your
that
mouth,
Kirby,
it's not going to
the
interfere with the
all
respirator sealing
powerful being
surface. Bodes well for the
in the
likes of
Kirby
Mike
universe
Hagar,
would
Mustache
not
Era, Solid
survive
Snake, and
Corona.
even Mecha Hitler from Wolfenstein. I wonder if he called it a toothbrush mustache. Mario, however, isn't looking quite so super all of a sudden. His mustache might be a bit too big, but, you know, he's got options. Option A, tucking his mustache so it doesn't cross the respirator sealing surface, or Option B,
Just cut
make
it off.
shaved Mario a reality. Oh,
Oh,
God,
God.
put it back. Yeah, I think we can all agree that we're rooting for option A, or for Mario to just die. It also means that even more mustachioed men are in the danger zone. Dr. Eggman, Wario, and Master Onion from Parappa the Rappa, all in the red. Similarly, full beards are a one-way ticket to Virus Town. Kratos might want to stick with the safer young Kratos look. Same goes for Geralt in Witcher 3.
I mean, the goatee
Double breaks
doesn't
the
help as
respirator
well.
seal just like a beard does, which means that that whole dynamic beard growth feature ain't gonna be so great amid a global health crisis.
I mean, really? Geralt? The motherfucker that's managed to survive, like, really a shit ton of, like, shit to his body? Really couldn't survive Corona? Like, bruh. Now, if you don't know about how the Witcher stuff works, is that you have to, like, do some preparation for your own body to really make you pretty much immortal. It'll just make you age slowly. So I really doubt that Corona, of all things, would fucking kill him.
Forget tossing a coin to your Witcher, just toss him a razor instead. Anyway, I could list these characters off for hours. If only there was a more efficient way to present such a staggering amount of data, like, I don't know, an infographic. Great idea, me. Here it is, folks. The Game Theorist's infographic on face mask friendly hairstyles. I took the CDC's information and put it into terms us gamers can understand. But let's keep in mind here, this face mask infographic doesn't tell us the whole story. Remember, viruses like this don't just spread through airborne particles. They spread through direct contact as well. That means that personal hygiene, especially washing your hands, is going to protect you more than any loose-fitting surgical mask ever will. Furthermore, just because someone contracts a virus, it doesn't mean that they're gonna die from it. And
Wait, hold on. I'm texting the guy.
here comes the tough discussion. At this point, you've undoubtedly heard talk of how deadly certain viruses can be. The fact of the matter is that death tolls from around the globe make for great grabby headlines, traditional media's equivalent of clickbait. But let's pull out and look at the real statistics here. The media tends to overinflate the news, scare tactics, leave out things that skew how we process the information that they're giving us. Overall, China's CDC found that 2.3% of confirmed cases of recent unnameable diseases died, which puts it deadlier than the flu, but it also puts it below things like 2003's SARS outbreak. The SARS outbreak in 2003 had a death rate of 9.6%, but even the 2.3% chance of recent diseases is still a misleading number. You see, the Chinese CDC found that the fatality rate was 14.8% in people 80 or older, likely reflecting the presence of other diseases, a weaker immune system, or simply worse health overall. By contrast, the fatality rate was 1.3% in 50
so makes sense. The diseases only affect really affect people that are like weaker immune system with older age and shit.
If not all the video game characters listed in this infographic we created would likely survive a hypothetical viral infection like the one that we're talking about today. They're all generally young and healthy, and sure, if they contract the virus, they're gonna have themselves a heck of a miserable 2-week period, but there's a high likelihood,
that they're gonna survive.
90% that they're gonna bounce back on the other end. So even though someone might have dangerous facial hair, there are a lot of other non-facial hair factors too. And we need to take those factors into consideration because let's be honest here, we don't really care which video game characters make a face mask feel the best. We want to know who's gonna die.
Iron Mouse.
Right? So let's first establish who is definitely not gonna succumb to our pandemic. Based on the factors we discussed earlier, the character best poised to survive this epidemic is young, clean-shaven, has good hygiene, and doesn't come into contact with a whole lot of people. Our ultimate virus survivor is, drumroll please, Princess Peach.
Yes!
First of all, she spends huge swaths of her time isolated in one castle or another, meaning she's not coming into contact with many carriers of the virus. Though we'd never ask a lady her age.
Although she constantly gets kidnapped by Bowser. So...
She does seem to be well under the age of 40, which is where susceptibility to viruses begin to rise. Obviously, Princess Peach has no facial hair, or at the very least is shaving it off on a regular basis. But on top of it all, Princess Peach basically wears gloves all the time, meaning that her hands aren't coming into contact with anything hazardous. Long story short, a relative loner trapped in a castle with no facial hair and protective gloves, definitely gonna be our best candidate for surviving.
Although, you know, the whole constantly getting kidnapped by Bowser, which most likely... it would be exposed to that shit with all this army and stuff. So, I don't know there, Matt, but I think that theory is going down the drain.
the worst, and Mario remake the world after the bacteriophages settle. But now let's consider which character is most likely to die. Basically, we're looking for the polar opposite of Peach. Elderly, very hairy, poor hygiene, and perhaps most importantly, comes into contact with a lot of people. With those factors in mind,
Donkey
I
Kong?
humbly give
Or
you,
Diddy Kong?
not all that much longer, Cranky Kong.
Yeah,
the
I knew it.
original Donkey
Cranky
Kong
Kong.
from the arcade cabinets. This guy checks all the bad boxes. Elderly, big check. Facial hair that won't fit under a mask, check and check. Heck, this guy's entire face is hair. Poor hygiene? I mean, the guy runs around barefoot in the jungle all day, eating bananas straight off the ground and throwing his dentures at complete strangers. And despite living in the middle of a
Donkey Kong,
jungle,
all
Cranky
the other
Kong
fucking
gets out
monkeys do that,
quite a
do
bit
that
for
shit
his
as well.
age. Comes into contact
And this
with a
seemed fine.
lot of different people. Recently, has been running around putting his immune system at risk in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Never mind the fact that he's been kicking it with the Super Smash Brothers crowd. Super Smash Brothers is, of course, basically the CDC's worst nightmare, by the way. It's like one big petri dish of disease if you think about it. Characters from every universe imaginable converging to participate in close quarters hand-to-hand combat. I mean, most fighters are young and strong enough to survive the virus if they happen to contract it, but Cranky Kong is an elderly and feeble exception. This old boy's body needs to be ready to fight off viral infection if it can.
I
but Cranky
mean, well,
Kong
the
is not
shit that
slowing
Cranky Kong does in Tropical Freeze, I'll probably assume that the guy has a really good immune system. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't see this theory actually going anywhere.
down. If anything, it seems like he's been putting himself even more at risk in recent years, and that could very well catch up to him if the virus that shall not be named ever makes it to Donkey Kong's country. So there you have it, my friends. If anyone's gonna succumb to the epidemic, it's Cranky Kong. But while we're on the subject of protecting yourself from viral outbreaks, let's transition over to talking about our sponsor for today's episode, NordVPN. Because guess what? Biological viruses...
Okay, yeah. Now I think that'll do pretty much for the rest of the review. But yeah, I don't buy it for a second. Yeah, that was a pretty weak theory. Not gonna lie.
90-hour weeks easily. Like that was not.
That sounds almost as hard as streaming.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, it was funny at first, but then
your job doesn't sound like it was socially draining or anything. I mean, come on. As a lawyer, how often are you interacting with people on a daily basis? Really?
To be fair, I did a lot more interacting with people because I had to go to a lot of like public meetings and stuff like that. I was actually like one of my skills is public speaking, which is why I like YouTube, right? But most lawyers were like basement dwelling research nerds, right? They never leave their office. Even the litigators, like the trial rarely happens in a civil context. Rarely, they always settle. So they're mostly in their office. They're mostly typing. They're mostly by themselves. They're mostly not out there socializing. We have social events, but what that really is, and it's kind of sad, is us sitting around and drinking like free whiskey sponsored by the Bar Association. Until we go home, pass out, and wake up and do it again. Exactly. The bar sponsors the bar. And yeah, no, it was a lot of that. It was a lot of research, a lot of sitting inside, and a lot of
theory, not action, not a lot of action.
So when you're saying your job was difficult,
it's happening.
I mean, do you stream by any chance?
Are you trolling me right now?
I think he doesn't see where we're going with this exactly.
Oh, I see the whole Assam thing. Yeah, you can definitely tell that streaming is the hardest job in the world.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's probably gonna go with the whole Assam thing.
I am the most victimized category out there. I am peak on the victim chart. I am at the.
I'm just saying when you're streaming, I assume it's more draining than, I don't know, going to trial or something.
Oh God, it's the worst. Streaming is the worst. I would rather be sent to the
definitely
stream.
So I want to just.
I fucking hate streaming. I always look forward to. I always look forward to my internship where I just sit in the fucking computer typing all day. Yeah, I always prefer that than to playing video games for I don't know, 3-4 hours.
Like with the flak jackets on into the comment section. So the context here
and just chilling out. Yeah, I fucking hate that.
Vosh's defense, okay?
We're not bringing up the horse stuff. This is a topic that we can actually discuss on YouTube without being shadow banned. So Hassan Piker, one of the largest streamers, been on the show, friend of the channel, you know, good guy. We all disagree,
Shit
I would
takes,
say,
though.
about like his discussion of
He's
what
fine,
I would
just-
consider socially draining.
that's a
Like,
lot of
we've
shit
come
takes.
from jobs. Everyone has come from a job here, right? When I look at YouTube and I look at live streaming, and I even like my worst stream, which was like 13 hours long years ago. You walk out of it, there is a socially draining aspect of it where you probably
Right.
don't ever want to speak to somebody, but I feel like this is a job where you can walk into your office, you can literally walk to your office. You don't have to like
Walk
drive
to your
anywhere.
office with
You don't have to do
with-
any of that bullshit. You walk to your office.
And if
you
you're a
can swear
VTuber,
all
you can just
want.
probably do
You
it
can
full
be as
naked,
raunchy as you
or
want,
just
and you
on
make good money.
only wearing your
If you're
your
successful,
pajamas,
and
which is what I'm
it's
doing
money
right
that
now.
you control. You're not paying. You're not kicking it back up to like a company and they're paying you a salary or something. Like the fact that it was being compared to like retail work or anything, which is by the way the most soul sucking. Energy
I can
shit
test
you could
that.
imagine.
Specifically retail work. Like that is
Yep.
like that's the
Retail.
breaker of people, right? I mean,
Yep.
it's two steps
Anytime
off
you
from
have to
chattel
fucking
slavery, right?
anytime
I mean,
you
it's
have to
pretty,
fucking-
it's pretty bad.
Interact with
I mean, I'll
people,
say it right now,
interact
you know,
with
a
the
job
public
at
in a
Staples
job.
meant
It's
that,
always
you know,
fucking soul crushing.
I would say that I was up and like that was one of the first gigs
I don't
that
like
I ever
pajamas.
had. First job, very young.
Where you just
all right?
where you
When
just
you're
go to bed
young,
with
you are susceptible- child
in
labor laws, they exist, but let's
your
be
fucking
honest,
underwear
They don't give a shit about us. They
or a
don't give a shit
onesie.
about the kiddos. Yeah, we work, we get paid shit, and it's supposed to be like you're starting into the door. I have never ever experienced a job that is more soul sucking and meaningless than that. You know, working other jobs like cybersecurity, anything, it's like, yes, I would feel like going to an office, putting in 10, 12-hour days, like working from, there are days where you work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., right? Like 6 days a week. It is an industry that doesn't respect your time or whatever. You get paid good, but that you have
Whatever
nothing
the
else.
fuck I'm
So
wearing.
the fact that when you're streaming and you walk away and it's like, man, my social batteries are drained. I'm like, dude.
Let's
I wouldn't
just
even
hope that you
consider
don't
myself.
sleep on your
about streaming. Okay,
day
you can
clothes.
say that
That's fine.
streaming
Because
it
that
drains
doesn't
your
seem-
battery. You're
doesn't
tired
seem
as
very
hell,
sanitary.
You
That's
stream
fair.
for 8 hours. You're allowed to complain. That is your God-given right as an American. Okay, as much as you hate the country. But the point is, you're allowed to complain. It's the terrible comparisons that just look awful. Like
Yeah, like if you just complain in a vacuum, that's fine, right? But when you start comparing it to work and saying it's worse than this, that's when I'm like, okay, now
Then
you
you're
lose
full
me,
of
bro,
shit.
because you're not out here, like I said, you're not out there, working the Oregon Trail, you're not out there on the Deepwater Horizon, you're not out there working at Wendy's, you're not
all you
working.
guys watching my stream right now that are struggling to get Wi-Fi because you have an outpost in Afghanistan. All you guys.
Yeah.
It's not as socially draining as what I do. You should know.
I mean, it's one
Yeah, it's
thing. Like,
definitely
if you, like
definitely not.
the thing is, like, I would probably sit there and be like, "Why is everyone complaining?" If you just walked out and said, "Yeah, it sucks when you're streaming for like 9 hours, dude. I feel like wiped at the end of the day."
Twitter-
I get
Twitter-
it. Your eyes are dry, your eyes
Twitch
are dry,
people,
your head
Twitch
falls
streamers
off,
having the most
yeah,
brain
that's
dead
what
fucking
anybody
takes
is like when
ever.
they're at a computer
Challenge
talking for,
impossible.
like, after a
No, there we
stream,
go.
sometimes my throat.
Twitch streamers not saying the most brain dead takes ever. Challenge impossible. There we go.
I don't complain about it. I'm just like, dude, that's what happens when you're speaking for hours on end, right?
Also, you recognize the fact that you have the ability to not stream.
Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
one of,
Yeah,
I
there's
raised
that too.
Point. I raised the point up. I'm like, because
Sometimes I just don't feel like streaming. Mostly just because either I'm tired or I just too late.
Like, hold on a minute. When you work a 9 to 5, you don't get to turn off and like go home. I don't get to tell my boss, yeah, I'm tired.
Yeah, no,
I'm
being
gonna
like,
go home. No, they
I'll see
fire
you.
my ass if
I don't know,
do
maybe
that.
2 days from
On
now.
a stream, it's like the most beneficial thing is after you've made good money, you can just say, all right, guys, I'm done for the night. Good night, bye, take care, end the stream, and do your own thing. That is the most privileged, like, blessed job you could ever imagine. And I believe Hassan even said that too. He's like, yeah, this is a blessed job.
As a successful streamer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're streaming, just to make barely ends meet, okay? If you're freaking working for Niji Sanji, okay? Like,
Right.
if you're in
Or just
slave
starting
labor,
out.
sure,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's
maybe,
exactly
yeah.
what that-
I
You're
get
making
it, I get
2%
you.
of merch revenue, yeah, sure.
You're only making
Yeah, I
like
work for the
10%
Yakuza. Yeah, then
of
your
donations
arguments are pretty
and
much,
tips or whatever.
Valid
understandable.
argument.
Yeah.
Very valid. But like, if you're streaming, making literally millions of dollars, like millions of dollars.
My other thing too is like, even when I discuss the whole thing, it's like I'm like, look, as a business owner myself, YouTube is not like a primary job for me. Like as a business owner, property asset development.
Yeah, Muda has a full-time job as well as working on YouTube.
My off day is Sunday, and as a business owner, like, and I'll say it, a Sunday isn't a day off. It's just a day to prepare for the week.
Do you think Temu's a scam? I think I've heard of Temu before. I haven't really paid much attention to it though. What was Temu again? Although anything, I don't trust anything that comes out of like YouTube's fucking ads.
30 love. $40 love.
Shop like a billionaire. Is it like what you get? Why are you talking about Temu? Do you just get that? You just get like an ad from that?
Player 1.
Yeah. My thing with me, never trust any fucking ad from YouTube. Never. Fucking never.
That's it. And I've always said,
If it's
like,
on
the
YouTube,
funniest
don't
thing is, it's
fucking
like,
buy shit
I
from
have to
there.
explain to people, I'm like, dude, as somebody that takes a risk to bring the initial capital with my partners and start a company, and then we hire people later, like, you get into, like, it becomes this esoteric discussion about, like, the means of production. And
Unless you already have
dude,
like
you're
experience
literally
with
talking about,
with it,
like,
it's fine. But
stupid take.
you've
That's
never
it.
heard
Like,
of
it's
it
a dumb
before,
take,
and then an ad
you
of
know?
it shows up
Yeah,
on
and I'm
YouTube.
like,
Don't fucking don't even
and when I
bother.
sit there, I'm like, look, I can complain about a million problems in society. I know that it's way out of my scope to fix it. All I can do is try my best.
Amy, host of Stealth Theory, made a video on quoting from Temu, where in the video she even bought a car. Okay.
Player 1.
But again, yeah, still. But that's what Stealth Theory. They have the money to spend for that shit. I doubt the regular Joe has the money to buy a fucking car from Temu. They don't understand that most YouTubers they make the money back from the video. Yeah, they buy the car. They make the video about buying the car, and then they make the money back just by uploading it. But just by uploading the video on YouTube. And most people don't do that. So yeah, just don't bother.
15 love. $30 love. $40 love.
We're stopping again.
That's to live within it and make something out of it, you know?
And beyond that, I mean, if you look at it, especially with the young people, I think they polled, everybody wants to be what? What's the number one thing they always...
Streamer.
A streamer?
Streamer or a YouTuber?
Content creators, always.
But again, a lot of people
Yeah,
want to
because
be
it's
things
an easy
and they
job.
don't realize how much work it is.
This is
beforehand.
true.
So
If you know what you're
not
doing.
necessarily an argument.
But it still makes it desirable, right? Other people.
Yeah, once you know what you're getting yourself into, that's somewhat of an easy job.
They don't know what it entails. They
You
don't
have
know whether
to
they'll
work like
have the
hell to
skills
get to
for it or
that
not.
point,
They just
but when
covet
you get to
covet
it, it's not
I mean, it
too
happens
bad.
with lawyers a lot. There's a lot of people I see in law school that are not really equipped to be lawyers because they don't know what the job really is. They watch Legally Blonde and they think that means they can go out there and kind of, rock the world and make $1 million and ride off with Chad. But obviously, that's not exactly what happens when you become a lawyer. You end up pinned
Yeah, that's
behind a
just a
desk,
YouTube
and most of
fantasy.
your social life goes to shit, right? So I can see that, but at the same time, when you mentioned, when you want to take a day off, it's even beyond that. You don't have to ask anybody, and it can be any time you want. So let's say you just covered something big, you've made big money, and you want to take 2 or 3 days off. Maybe you want to take a week off. It really doesn't matter that much. You can just do that, right? You can actually go ahead and do that if you need to do that, right? And
on
can actually
YouTube you
set
can
it
do
up
that
so
if
that
it's
you,
an actual
maybe
job.
you schedule content to come
that you
out.
won't
You
even
have videos
last.
that are rolling
You
out,
won't
you
even last a
pre-record it,
week.
you go on vacation.
It would
That's
just be me
amazing.
required
And you don't have
or
to
some
ask
shit.
anybody but yourself, right? It's only incumbent on
Unless
yourself
you
to do
take
that. That's kind
paid
of
leave.
It's probably stressful. I'm not saying
Sure.
it's not. It's the comparison that's just incredibly out of touch.
I think there's also a big difference too. Like, I kind of hate the conflation of like streaming and like YouTube content creation. Like, working on a investigation where you're like reading through the IR. I'm gonna say it for the record, okay? You want to know something mentally draining? And you as a lawyer, Andrew, you can agree with this. Reading the Internal Revenue Code.
Oh yeah. I know. Yeah.
So every time in a video, I'm like, I'm not a lawyer, so please talk to a lawyer if you want like actual like this is just me understanding it. So I'm reading through the IRC and I'm like, and that's what came into my head when I saw that take. I'm like, dude, you want to know something mentally, socially draining? Reading the Quran, like internal revenue documentation. It's like holy shit. It's insane. Like I was reading through the IRC because I wanted to like understand like what the actual laws were broken, and I'm reading through it. I'm like, dude, there's like subsection 4, like there was one I was reading. It was like subsection 4 bracket I, subsection E2 point. I'm like, dude, how does a lawyer like?
Why does this have so many subsections, guy? Goddamn.
Like, there's a big ass tooltip in the Internal Revenue documentation, like a tooltip this big that tells you. Check the please. It's like the DMV of documentation. It's like, oh, you want to find out what's there? Go to this page. Oh no.
Thank God we don't have the DMV here.
Open up that doc. Like, dude, what the?
Well, so two things there. Number one, they keep it intentionally dense because it's a gatekeeping instrument to keep the tax processing services and the tax lawyers in business. And number two, there's a reason why, for example, even when the lawyers,
cringe.
I know it's true though.
It's insane to me that the law is not comprehensible for the layman.
It's like, meant to be that way.
Why am I supposed to keep the law if I can't even understand it?
So you pay us money for it, Nux.
So you can pay.
That's cruel. That's evil.
So that you can end up paying the accountant to explain that shit to you, or just do it for you.
It's the truth. It's the truth. And like, people won't want to say it. They're like, Andrew, why are you telling them shut up? I'm like, I don't care. What are you going to do to me? Like, but the second part is, look, in tax law, you literally have to get a specific certification. I have to say, if I'm going through tax law, like, I am not a tax specialization lawyer because that's an extra degree. You actually, most people who do tax go get an extra degree on top of their law degree.
Because most 2 years need a degree for that shit.
Yes, in the U.S.
Most people don't understand taxes.
So. Yeah, and it's so wild. Like, I go onto like the internet and I look at like the Eastern European countries. They have like a website portal, like just a simple website portal. It's like, how much you owe? Yeah, so I'm like, I wish it was that simple.
It's so complicated to pay taxes. I'm trying to give you my money, okay? Dude, please.
Like.
Why are you making it so hard to give you money, IRS? Come on.
Not me, not
Also, hi there, order. Thanks for stopping by.
The CFO is an actual partner now.
Thanks for the work, much appreciated.
Like 2 years ago, we were just like, listen.
Yeah, we're just doing some tennis stuff here.
We were doing like our taxes like morons. We were doing them like, you know, it's not like we weren't doing them like illegally or anything. I'm just saying like the way that we structured companies.
Careful now.
And the way that we did. Well, the way that we did like the way that we were like operating.
Not criminals.
Yes, it's like this is tax minimization, not tax evasion, right? Be very clear. One of them is legal, one of them's not.
The way that I can explain it the best.
Yeah,
is
it's gonna be this.
We didn't have holding companies.
Please don't put us in jail.
That's funny. We didn't know like what the because we always thought like holding companies were for like the really big companies, right?
Sure.
So we had like all of our cash in like operating like companies, like our operating.
I think the guy's
accounts.
probably switching
so holdco
accounts. I think that's what it is.
Like,
yeah.
It wasn't
oh, he does that. I'm
CFO
gonna check my
stats. Like,
stats.
have you guys ever been sued? We're like, no. Why? It's like you probably should move your assets to something else. I'm like, we were learning about this shit like 2 years after we hired somebody who was waiting us through.
Keep your horse with the taxes.
Yeah, dude, like literally, our tax lady was like, "So do you talk to the IRS?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, occasionally we do. We have U.S. stuff. It's like, why don't you have like separated business? Why are you giving the IRS all of your documents? Because we used to do that." Under the company, we would give them all of our Canadian information to the U.S. Internal Revenue
Only
Service. Like,
588.
why are you giving those
Americans
more. Everything? Separate the branch.
But it's true though because it's true because there's eventually going to be something that like both sides want, and you end up in these scenarios where you're essentially double paying. You're like, okay, I've got to pay you and I got to pay you because you're both interpreting your tax code different ways. So now you're just double paying, and at the end of the day, it's going to fall on you. You can fight it as much as you want. You're going to end up paying. Right?
That's why you pay
I'm
for
American
accountants.
and I'm Canadian. Okay, it's absolutely insane. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It's awful.
Okay, yeah,
so
my
this
sympathies.
tax treaty between the United States and Canada. So I only have to pay taxes in Canada because that's actually where the higher bar of taxes is. And then I need to actually fill out all my taxes through the United States as well because they own a piece of your soul. Okay, they're like super Niji Sanji. Okay,
right.
They also own you a little bit. So the way it works is if you're a Canadian resident, then you have to pay taxes in Canada. However, if you're an American citizen, you have to pay taxes in America. So if you're a resident in Canada, you technically have to pay taxes in both. And that's where the tax treaty comes into. You only need to pay the country where it's more, and then you file taxes to the other country. But here's where it gets insane. If you want to run a business, then you have to incorporate it, right? You make an LLC, limited liability corporation.
Correct.
That works in the United States to help a lot in regards
Not
to
in
not
Canada?
needing to pay taxes for business expenses and certain things. However, an LLC is not recognized by Canada. It has its own thing, and its own thing is not recognized by the United States. I cannot incorporate.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, I can't incorporate my company properly, okay? Because no matter what I call it, I'm just going to need to pay the extra money that I would be saving to the other country.
Oh, that's...
Tell me why that makes sense.
It makes zero sense at all whatsoever. Zero.
Dude, and this is the thing about like anything like I'm glad that you compared like the U.S. like government to Niji Sanji here because that's actually the best.
It's very
Yes.
Listen, it's one thing we all can agree on, no matter what. If you're on both sides of the law, whether you're like doing your job completely legally or you're like multinational drug dealer, if you're not paying Uncle Sam his dues, they're gonna come at like it's insane when I was like researching to the IRS.
They will
right?
terminate.
No, that is the number one
they
thing.
will
Like
fuck
you know,
you
you
up
can
even
fuck
if
around
you're
with a lot of
just
things, but not the
a
tax
little
man.
bit
Not
wrong.
the tax man. Right? I mean, ask Wesley Snipes. You know, I mean, you can do you can do a hell of a lot, but don't mess with your taxes.
Well, even like the tax stuff. It's like it's funny because when I'm looking into the IRS, I'm like they have the only division in any country's tax system where they have literal like actual agent like combat like ready field agents. Like if you don't pay your tax and you hide in the Amazonian rainforest, they'll send badged armed agents like special operators. And they'll get the money.
Well, and if you're American,
they
you're
want
kind of
your
screwed
ass.
because you got to report. You know, I live abroad. I'm in Asia, right? And you have to report
Want your
all
ass
of your
and
bank
your money.
accounts. So, like, you know, all of your bank accounts that go over $10,000 are mandatory to be reported back to the U.S. So, like, you're going around and you're thinking, oh, I'm in another country. Nuh-uh. IRS is going in there and looking at every single one of those, which is kind of ridiculous.
Okay, so you think my finances were screwed until here, Andrew? Get ready for this bombshell. When I first monetized my YouTube channel, I was in Israel.
Right, he was in a completely different country.
The way YouTube works is that they're only going to allow you to open up a bank account in the country that you monetize your channel.
Okay.
I obviously had no idea this was the case. I had, 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I wasn't making any money, okay? I was making $12 and $16 here and there. I was on vacation and I monetized it because it's just like a little pop-up. It pops up, you click monetize, and that's fine. And then they said, okay, now attach an Israeli bank account. I'm not an Israeli citizen.
Oof.
So I had to go find out a way to make an Israeli bank account that I could attach to the YouTube account. And then I had so much money sitting in the Google AdSense at that point, around $250,000, that I wasn't able to access because I couldn't actually get them to send it to a Canadian or an American bank account. It had to be an Israeli one. I had to go back to Israel. I had to make an Israeli bank account for them to send the $250,000. And then guess what? Israel froze the bank account. Where's all this coming from?
Damn.
Who is this Google person
It is
that's
kind of
sending you all?
look.
Right? It
if
is.
an
And I go to
unfunded
them with
bank
all these
account,
documents and everything. All these documents trying to prove it. No, literally nothing. And now I have more money accumulating in a Google AdSense account that's like, well,
Dude,
attach a different Israeli bank account.
Right, and I'm pretty sure Moist Critical ended up helping him with that. I think. I don't know if he actually
situation
resolved
here in
it.
like Canada. So like not with like so at one point. So this is the scariest thing about tax people, right? Like when they call you up on the phone, it is the scariest shit. It's like your dad is calling you up and he's just visibly angry. So you get a call. It's like, "Hi, I'm so and so. This is my badge number. I'm calling from Vancouver." I'm like, "Hold on, lady, you're giving me your badge number?
Oh,
what the fuck?
fuck.
What's going on?" She's like, we sent you a letter like in the."
You know what's even scary
tax
though?
website. So
A
you go
fucking
to the
phone
tax
call from
portal,
your bank.
and like you open the little letter. It's like you owe
that is even
$200,000
scarier.
in sales tax. It's like, so are you gonna pay that by the end of the week? I'm like, what? What do you mean I owe you $200,000? She like puts a flag down on the account, and like the way they scare you, like I almost was like, shit, I might as well just pay the bill. I don't know. Maybe I'll get it back. But I don't want to get in trouble with them.
$200,000 is not worth prison.
Well, so I call up my CFO, and my CFO's like, nobody goes to prison. First off. And second of all, You give me her badge number. You give me her number right now, and I'll call. So like 30 minutes later, I'm sitting in my like office. I'm like, shit, what are they talking about? And she gives me a call. It's like, it's all good. I told her what you do. It's fine. Like, I'm like, wait, you got it sorted out.
What the fuck?
She had thought that like apparently we were doing like sales work through like we were selling items on like Google or like through the ads or something. So she was wondering if we were collecting sales tax on everything.
Oh yeah, trying to get a VAT. Yeah.
Yeah, so like all my accountant did was she's like, I just sent her the Google AdSense terms and conditions, and she's like, oh, I get it. I'm like, why are you scaring him? It's like, what the? He's out there thinking that he owes a like 6 figs.
God damn, man, you gave me a fucking heart attack for nothing.
Like, dude, we all could make like a whole series of like just the IRS and like everyone's experience with them, like YouTubers and their stories.
I've had some nightmare.
It is nightmare because when they catch up, the thing is, in the beginning, people don't think about it, but it compounds, right? And the IRS is like Pepperidge Farms. They never forget, right? They 100% will come at you later. And there's a lot of this stuff there's not a statute of limitations on. So they'll roll this stuff out for a significant period of time.
No seu dia a dia, você pode controlar muitas coisas, incluindo o seu consumo de energia.
Get out.
I don't even want to like name names on certain influencers, but I've had like discussions where it's like, you know, I like talk to them and we're at like a party.
Dude,
and,
what do your tax forms look like? Wait, you have to pay taxes?
No, literally that was the funniest shit I ever heard.
We're thinking of the same guy, I think.
I was in a I was in a party in like Los Angeles, right?
No,
like, we were just talking about like shots and we were just talking about like taxes and everything because we were from like Canada. And so the discussion was hilarious because I'm like, oh, how do you have your thing set up with the CRA? Like, do you do this, and that? And it's like, yeah, I don't know how to pay taxes yet. It's been 4 years since I've been doing YouTube. I don't really know how that process works. I'll get around to it eventually. And like in my head, I'm like, oh god, oh you sweet summer child. Wait a minute, you've been making all this money. And then when I'm like, you set some aside for taxes, right? It's like, no, when I do it eventually, I'll pay that year off. And I'm like,
oof.
I don't want to tell you, but when they come down.
Also,
how'd we tell
I've spoken to someone about that also. Okay, so I think, I'm not going to mention any names here, obviously. But I was talking to someone and they're like, well, I don't like share my identity publicly, so I don't think like they'll know it's me. I'm like, oh, they'll know it's you. Oh,
yeah, no,
they will
know.
They know.
Yeah, but it's my money I'm making is through donations. Like, should they really get from my donations? Like, it's a present. I'm like,
well, even that discussion, they were just like,
you sweet summer child.
Do you have a bank account? It's like, yeah. Then they know. They always know.
They already know. If it hits your bank account, they know. Unless you're doing it in cash. In cash or like gold bars, like
there's a political streamer. Oh god, I don't remember his name. Xanax or something. That's not his name. It starts with an X. He keeps all of his money in a PayPal account. He never wants to put it into the bank. What's it? Xander Hall. This happened to him. He only had a PayPal account, and he would put all of his money directly into the PayPal instead of ever transferring it to a bank so that the government can't find it or something. I don't know if that's true, but anyway. Like he at some point his PayPal got hacked because it was linked to his Steam and someone logged into his Steam and took all
all his money.
I know something even wilder with the PayPal story because when I had another person who was like, because a lot of people I knew put their money into PayPal or whatever. They're like, because they were with MCNs and they would pay them to the PayPal as the wire. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there like, it's fine. PayPal's a bank. It's FDIC insured. I'm like, how much do you have in there? And it's like, we do 300,000. I'm like, dude, you are over the limit for insurance. Government's not
break it to you. Break it to you.
And I'm pretty sure PayPal's not FDIC insured. I would know that, but okay, sure.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with crypto,
yeah,
right?
trust
like
the person who hasn't paid their
in the crypto, be like, oh, they don't see it. I'm like, did you cash that out through an exchange? Oh yeah, but through Coinbase. The government knows, right?
Dude, I love crypto stuff, dude. I love the information. I love the crypto community and the influences around
How fucking dumbasses they are.
You know, there was a part of me where I was like, I hope these people start getting arrested or something happens. Now I'm just like, dude, I want them to keep scamming, dude. I love when influencers scam with crypto.
It just becomes giant news that everybody covers, and
it's just
no, that's not news. That's drama.
That's drama. Remember.
It's drama when people lose millions of dollars.
It's fake news or drama.
Right?
Did you hear about the financial scam drama that's been going on? It's been crazy.
Wait, which one? Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's the market we're kind of looking into. So I mean, I guess to whittle it on back to like the lads over at like Niji Sanji and this VTuber stuff too. I mean, the drama that is around actual exploitation of like workers and everything too.
Okay, Muda, I'm going to tell you a story. You have to tell me if you think this is a true story or I'm making it up right now off the top of my head. There's a VTuber agency that had a talent that wanted to quit to focus on her time as a full-time nurse. And so the agency said, if you do quit, then you're a quitter. And if you're a quitter, we are going to tell on your hospital that this is what you did, and we are going to make sure that they fire you, and you will not be able to get a job as a nurse anywhere unless you continue working for this agency. True or false?
I want to say this is false, but I know it's true.
I think it's probably true.
To Wachter, okay? This is not even their worst story.
No.
Oh,
no,
it was Wachter, bro.
They've got some like Harvey Weinstein type stuff going on there too. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's
yeah, somehow Wachter ends up being worse than fucking Niji Sanji. Somehow.
So Niji Sanji, we know they're
Like,
evil, right?
how can it be worse than the devil? Oh shit, super devil.
What is kind of the
Super devil. Right? They are
Yeah, there we
the
go.
first ring of hell. Wagner's
God
the
damn it,
devil.
even Knox made the same
realize,
fucking
look,
joke as I did.
The power disparity is clearly on their side. They know they're in Japan. They know they have the power. In this case, with Wachter, a lot of the people they abused or rather took advantage of were like the
Where's
Spanish-speaking
my
content
pre-watch
creators,
allegations as
right?
well?
So they were in other countries that was not Japan. They didn't have links to Japan. They couldn't kind of respond appropriately. There was also some, I think one was Thai as well, and other places outside of Japan. And they just fully abused the control because they knew at any point they can pull the rug. They knew at any point they could do that. And on top of that, they actually went as far as doxing their talent, right? They knew that, hey, your identity is something to put out there. Niji Sanji didn't do this, right? Wachter actually hard doxed the people on Twitter, right? Just put out their termination notice, posted it just like Niji Sanji, but with their real names. Right, that's a different level, especially for a VTuber. Right, like it goes far beyond just everyday.
I can't believe I was gonna say this, but thank God Niji didn't do that. Like, fuck me.
That's aside from the fact that they had to there were.
Yeah, I'm surprised that's not an actual
that they were
fucking
forced
crime.
to give sexual favors to people.
Like, I mean, actually get away with that shit.
Like,
straight up.
Like that was what they said.
And so, like, I guess the question is, like, what is the government of Japan doing about this? Because it just seems like the situation can't last.
Well, these are not Japanese citizens, so once again,
So they
to a
can't
certain
really do
level,
much.
the government of Japan, number one, may not know about the scope of it, right? Because remember, there's the hard language barrier. People forget, look, as much as people go over and find it fun to teach English in Korea and Japan and all that stuff, the English fluency, especially at the higher levels, is very, very low, right? And they're not hearing these stories from both sides. Even now with Niji Sanji, we are just seeing this stuff being translated back into Japanese, right, from the English perspective, because they're like, why are people freaked out about this? They don't know. They're not getting that other side, right? So with Wachter,
Yeah,
they just
the
were
language
not hearing
barrier.
this other side of the story. It's only now, I think, in the wake of Niji Sanji, that some of these stories are going to be retranslated back, and there may be some movement, there may be some push in the light of this, right? But before
they're
this,
still
I really
getting
don't think
into
there was
that.
as much pushback, because frankly, what is a poor foreign worker going to
so-
do? And by the way, when I worked in Korea,
Still can't believe that
I
Niji's
talked
still
with a lot of
going,
these company
but
folks,
I don't think they're gonna last
and
longer.
They would kind of say it that look,
Something
our
is
remedy
gonna
is you
happen
go
at some
home,
point where
right?
Niji's
Is that
just
you
gonna
go
fucking
home
go.
at a certain point,
Either
and you're not
lose
gonna
all on the
complain
money
to
or
the
just go
labor
straight
board
up
when we work you
bankrupt.
too long. You're not going to complain to the
Something
business
is gonna
board,
happen
right?
at some
Because
point.
you're going, you're leaving. You won't be here for a lawsuit. By the time the lawsuit is conducted, you're going to be gone. So that's what a lot of these people bank on, and frankly, there's a point to it. Are these livers, these VTubers that don't have any financial resources to begin with because they weren't given any money, going to have hundreds of thousands for a multinational lawsuit? No, of course not.
Where again, even with the lawsuit, you have to contend with both legal systems
And also,
at the
like,
same time.
what's
Yes.
winning? There's no such thing as winning these lawsuits either.
No, you spend more money.
Yeah,
you
you
spend
just-
more
and
money
you just-
litigating it than you would even
whoever
gain. Your
wastes
damages
more
are gonna
money
be
wins.
nothing. right? So you're going to collect a pittance compared to what you spend, and you're going to be emotionally, physically drained. You're going to be traveling to Japan for depositions. No, you don't want to do that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and there's somebody that's like faced the threat of 2 international lawsuits in the span of 2 consecutive months each. Like, discussing the financial cost of just an American and a Canadian lawsuit is, and for anybody watching, it's no joke. It's like you're looking at minimum 6 figures. Like, that's the minimum.
So yeah, people got on me a little bit about when I said the quote for an international lawsuit was like $500,000. I'm like, I think that's kind of conservative even for an international lawsuit, especially with like top tier lawyers like litigating over years.
People barely make a 6 figures in their in like 10 years.
$3 billion company. They're not, another YouTuber that's upset at you for calling them out.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, you have to recognize, and I'm sure you know a lot more about this than I do, but slander in America versus in Japan are very different. In America, slander is when you make a false statement about somebody to hurt their reputation. In Japan, it's when you make any form of statement with the intention to hurt the reputation. Even if it's true, it's still slander.
Yeah, so I have to give
good
the
luck fighting that.
I have to get the I'm not a Japanese lawyer disclaimer like a million times because the spags will freak out on me. But the plain English reading, you can read a lot of this in English. Even if you say something that's true, in America, that's a defense to defamation. So if I say you're a criminal and you are a criminal, that is a defense. But that's not how it works in Japan. It doesn't just have to be
slander,
true.
even
it
if
has to be
it's true
and support the quote-unquote public good. So there's this analysis that the judge has to do about whether what you said was in the good of the society as a whole, which is some fagazzi, which, once again, you can see. Yeah, what does that mean? What does that mean?
So hold on.
Yeah,
Let's say that
New York.
somebody was defrauding people out of millions of dollars in Japan, right? So if you were to make a statement and say this person was defrauding them for millions of dollars, would that be beneficial because your statement is ultimately for the good of the people?
It depends, because maybe they were defrauding them for a purpose that was that like half of it went to charity and half of it was used in a proper way, but half of it wasn't. So because they don't want to make the half that was used properly look bad, they're like, okay, well, you shouldn't have said it in public. You should have quietly done this, right? You should have not made a public statement. Remember, defamation is public, right? So they're like, you should have done this another way. You get what I'm saying here? The biggest one would be like a mistress, right? Like saying, oh, this person has a mistress, right? For example, that's very wrong in many places over here because you're kind of outing something that should be private and you're making it public, right? And it's against the public good. It doesn't benefit the public for you to out somebody's mistress. So boom, you're hit with defamation, even if it's true.
Wild.
It's crazy. But it's you got to understand the culture. It's a cultural difference. There's the public-private face that is a huge thing over here in East Asia. That's just not a thing in the West. We don't have that same concept. So trying to understand that for a lot of people just blows their mind. I'm like,
right? It's just
the
that's
whole
just
how it is. You gotta
Doki
live with that.
and
That's reality.
Her being from Canada and the whole thing with Japan, she's gonna make this.
Asia, being from India, it's like I can understand. It's like there's definitely like. You want to keep things hush-hush, especially when it's something,
One thing's for certain, if she was in Japan, if Dokibar was, in fact, in Japan and not in Canada, she would be legally fucked. Like, legally
we don't have
fucked.
that same perception, we don't have that same understanding. And I guess that's where the whole situation kind of like comes into a fold for a lot of these VTubers in general, because it's like, if you're from here, you want to make sure you get, what's fair to you. And obviously what's fair to you is never going to be what's fair to the company or the Japanese public.
And Japanese law is not the remedy for people in the West, right? It's just not the appropriate thing. People in the West, their expectations are too different. And that's why it's got to be, there's got to be some sort of arbitration or alternative, like having a subsidiary, because otherwise you're just never going to get a remedy that seems right. It's just going to constantly seem that way. And look, there'll be good corporations, right, that'll do the right thing. But there'll also be occasionally the whackers and the Niji-sanjis that just get away with stuff that really would be inexcusable if it happened in Canada or the U.S.
Well, the amount of money that's being generated over here, and like some of these like actual like VTubers are generating like what we would consider to be like a really well-oiled small business. When you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, you go beyond just like a celebrity. You go to somebody that can hire people and start small enterprises.
I mean, I guess a good example of that is like Glitch Productions. They started small and then they grew up. They grew very big. But I think they're an Australian company.
I think they're moving that way. I know Canada's getting a little bit more protectionist with its regulation in regards to social media and content creation. But I do think we're going to move into an era where it says, okay, you've got to have something there. And look, we're also seeing the blossoming of companies that are starting up in North America, right? Famously, Phase Connect, right? Phase Connect is in Canada. I think we're going to see more of that because people are going to say, I don't want to sign with a Japanese company if this is the culture that is pervasive in Japan. And there's nothing that's stopping an American company from coming up other than they're going to need to build up their sponsors, they're going to need to build up their reputation. But it can be done. And this is a growing industry that's not going anywhere. So I think it would behoove folks to look at that as a potential area for expansion, corporate expansion in terms of this being in the U.S.
Another streaming. It's another subset of content creation that's not going
because
anywhere.
as of right now, I think the situation is there's not enough choice, right? Like the largest organizations are pretty much structured in the same way. It's like, what are you going to do? Give up one predatory organization for another slightly less or maybe more predatory organization? It's like you really don't have. I mean, there
It's
are
either
good
get
companies. I don't want to say that there aren't, but it's just like the ones that
on both
have
poles
the
or just one.
most attention
There's
and
no
money to like bring on some of these new
silver
talent.
lining.
The most exploitative ones aren't. It unfortunately seems like they're the worst type of companies to be, working with. I would say.
Particularly the ones that are in Japan. I would say particularly the ones that are in Japan because of the cultural differences.
Yeah, because this whole time, like when I started doing this, I thought Niji Sanji N, like the English-speaking variant, was at least like some American.
I thought
right?
that too. I originally, when I first came onto this and I knew nothing, I thought it was a subsidiary.
It's a Japanese company
No.
that's trying to tap into a new audience. Like that, that's literally it.
They never bothered to spin it off. They never bothered to spin it off and to incorporate it anywhere, which shows you they weren't.
But that shows you, and I would say that comes across as almost malicious intent because obviously, if you were going to set up an organization here, and look, as a Canadian. Working even in the YouTube business, I work a lot with American companies, like companies that don't have any Canadian presence. It's fine because we are protected by laws that cover us across the border to an extent.
Sure.
Not with this. We understand that there's some protections a Canadian can have against an American company. We can use American laws to combat them if they're taking advantage of us. We understand that. With a Japanese company, it's like. Dude, you're signing into a company that can terminate you pretty much at any given moment without any severance or anything of that nature. And
right, especially when it's Sanji, we can just do that shit out of nowhere.
Like,
they can really pull any
like,
random fucking bullshit they did. It was just meaningless to you.
A company for abusing you?
Well, in America,
like for example, this one VTuber that worked for Niji Sanji, she got terminated because I think it was just this one stream she did. She made a "these nuts" joke, and then she got terminated because, in the eyes of Niji Sanji, that "these nuts" joke is like speaking about a brand because there's an actual brand called "these nuts," and she mentioned a certain brand on stream, and you can't do that, at least for. In Niji Sanji's eyes, it's fucking weird.
In Canada, we share language. We share generally the same culture. I mean, you have more poutine than we do. But, I mean, other than that, there's not much of a difference for us perceptually. We understand each other's legal system. We can, right? With given enough time, given enough reading, right? We can understand
also, I feel like
each
there's
other.
so much more precedent to Canada versus America lawsuits, right? I feel like that happens pretty frequently. So many businesses are Canadian and American.
Sure.
How much precedent is there really between a talent agency that operates under idol culture standards in Japan working with talent that's purely American over the internet? Like zero precedent.
I tried to find it, and there really is not. There's really little precedent. There's even little precedent in like a lot of these international litigation contexts. There's very, very little evidence. I found one case in Canada about a contract that was voided. This was went up to the Supreme Court of Canada. There's a contract that was voided because the Supreme Court of Canada found it was unconscionable because they required arbitration in The Hague in Netherlands, and it was just like, this is unreasonable. We're not going to do that, right? But there's very little on this because frankly most litigation has gone internally, like within a country or within big interests in major companies, right? Not like corporation versus corporation, not individual talent versus giant Japanese billion-dollar company with, what is it, the youngest billionaire in the world almost next? Am I correct about that?
Yeah, I think the youngest billionaire in Japan.
In Japan.
I don't know. I don't know.
And that's another thing too when it comes to like lawsuits and litigation too. It's like the people, and this is why I didn't talk too much about the Doki Bird lawsuit in general, because it's like part of me, like I didn't want to just outright in a video say I'm like she probably shouldn't keep pursuing the litigation, like as sad as it is to sound.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, it might be best if you just forget about fucking Niji-Sanji, just continue doing stuff as Doki Bird.
$3 billion company. It's like, what are you gonna do? Went up against
Because you're just gonna waste money for no reason. You're just gonna end up wasting money.
Best
solutions
to settlement where people walk away. She might walk away with.
Unless Niji-Sanji does some dumb shit and she can like get an easy win. But other than that, yeah, just forget about the whole thing and just move on.
She walks away with the money.
It means nothing to them.
That's a rounding error, right? You know, like
it's negligible.
Negligible. It's truly negligible.
Yeah, exactly.
As they said, their SEC filings as their stock dropped like 30% or something, but anyways, like just do that, walk away. Everybody signs. Maybe there's a final statement, you know, that we settled it. It's all good. So you know things calm down and things go away. But as it stands, it's just been a giant black eye for Niji-Sanji, and it's going to be used constantly as an example of, frankly, a corporate mismanagement. I mean, this incident will be a classic example of corporate mismanagement.
I mean, again, prediction time. There's going to be another Japanese VTuber agency that starts up, and it'll be an primarily English focused, and coincidentally, a lot of the Niji talent is going to end up leaving Niji-Sanji and joining this one, which is a spotless reputation. Yeah. Now, this new one that has nothing to do with that one, aside from all the people behind the scenes, is going to have a new face and CEO, and it's all going to be nice and kosher and beautiful.
I think right, I see where this is going. Although most of the Niji talent, at least the ones that got terminated, most of them just went into V-Shoujo. So, and I think they probably don't want anything to do with fucking with Niji-Sanji or whichever fucking company they might end up doing besides that. Yeah, I doubt that. I think they're done. Yeah, I think that should do for today though. Let's see. Yeah, 6.6. Let's see. Are we done with the wins so far? Let's see. Where is it? Yeah, look at that. Yeah, I'm already done. Yep. I'm done with the online tour. Look at that. Didn't even notice it. Yeah, look, I didn't even fucking notice. It was probably those last 4 wins that I was missing. But yeah, online. I already have online tour done. Yeah, I had a feeling that. Yeah, hold on. Let me just get rid of the video. No, we don't need it, and put on the music. Okay, yeah, there we go. I had as I was saying, I had a feeling that I was gonna be able to maybe get the online tour stuff done either today or tomorrow, because I only had like a few more left. So all that's missing now for me at least is getting the last of the where is it? Yeah, the last of the friendly online matches, which is like you need 250, but the 150 they get from the online tours, they do count for friendly matches. So in reality, you only need like 100, and I think I already got a couple of them. So I need less than 100 wins in friendly online matches, which they don't take as long as the regular matches. So probably tomorrow, which there's not gonna be a stream, so I should be up to no. Yeah. Unlike ranked matches, online tour, unless you like keep track of that shit, the game doesn't quite tell you how many you have. At least with ranked, that you have the leaderboard, which doesn't get doesn't disappear with weekly. So with online tour, you do have to keep track of that. And also friendly matches. So I think the guy's probably missing like 50 more wins. 50 or maybe less. Yeah, something around that. So probably tomorrow I can probably get the rest of his wins. And then on Wednesday we can do some yeah, on Wednesday we can do some network stuff here. Yeah, which is just the easier way to do meet up with him, where you can just join a room and shit. Yeah, create room, and then you can just join up and shit here. Much easier to not run into fucking randoms, even though it tends to rarely happen. But yeah, probably on Tuesday we can finish off the rest of his wins for online tour, and then on Wednesday we can probably start doing network. And then we'll see how many wins we can get. And then probably on Thursday we should be done. Yeah, most likely. So then on Friday we can probably start doing Tom Clancy's Hawks. Yeah, most likely. We'll see. We'll see. This shit might still end up taking very long. Then either that or the guy not actually showing up. We'll see. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today though. Yeah. But yeah, original plan, we might finally start doing Hawks on Friday. Maybe, we'll see. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Oh, gotta fix this. There we go. Much better. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this session of Virtua Tennis. So if everything goes well as planned, on Wednesday that should probably be the last farming session we're gonna be doing in the game. If everything goes well, that is. Yeah, just type in the guide. Right, there we go. So, if everything goes well, Wednesday should be the last farming session for Virtua Tennis. And the last one we will be playing the game on stream for now. I have plans on actually doing the rest of the game, like the single player stuff, at some point, but much later. Yeah, I do have plans on actually getting the platinum. I just need to get the rest of the single player stuff, which again we'll do later. Yeah, I have plans on actually doing other stuff besides this fucking game. What the hell? I thought I fucking turned you off. I thought I turned off the fucking console. This shit. Or maybe I just quit the game. Okay, I just quit the game. I didn't actually turn off the console. There we go. There we go. Much better. There. hopefully on Wednesday we should be done with the game, at least the online stuff, and then on Friday we can probably start doing Hawks. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, if I finally get this shit done and move on to other stuff. So yeah, let's see. Again, next stream shall be on Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. GMT1, where we are gonna be hopefully finishing off with the rest of the online, on stream at least, with Virtua Tennis 2009. So yeah, if you like to be notified when I go live or any other shenanigans I have in mind on stream schedule of new uploads, you go to my Discord where you'll be notified as such. And if you also want to keep track of any previous streams on Slow Pass, you can also go to my YouTube channel as well. Now with all that said and done, let's see what Crafty Konami is doing right now in Pikmin game in Roblox. Goddamn. I'll be more surprised at what you cannot fucking do in Roblox. Goddamn. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Yep, that's definitely Pikmin and Roblox. Okay. Weird combination, but whatever. When you're too poor to get an official console and your PC's too shit to run an emulator, I guess. So yeah, for this stream we are going to be rating Crafty Konami. Right now they're going through Pikmin and Roblox. Weird that is. So yeah, you guys have fun with Crafty. Have yourselves a merry rest of the day. And as always, have a good one. Bye. Bye-bye. See ya. Have a good one. Bye. Bye-bye. See ya.